This week's guests include Greg Howse and Roger Williams.
Looking back on the life that you're leaving, let it rest in a hole in the ground. Stick around for the great revealing, or the fire you've been dancing around. All we hear is the sound of retreating. No one cares where you're coming from. My ears are still ringing and bleeding. I guess we all knew from the start. These are the days my heart goes numb. Yeah, one of these days will be the one. We're looking for answers. What a disaster. These are the days my heart goes numb. My heart goes numb. Breathing the fumes of the ashes, the spirits light up the night, looking down the ash.
We're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hajicek, and co-host Jeff Perrella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. Yep, that's the ticket. Now here are your Untold Radio AM hosts, Doug Hajicek and Jeff Perrella Jr.
And here we are.
Yes, we are. How are you?
Good. Good. Had a
Still
great
haven't gotten the
weekend.
flu?
What's that?
You still have not gotten the flu?
Nope. And I doubt I will.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I just don't get
Good.
sick.
Hey, Yvette's sick now.
Yuck. No good.
Yeah, she finally caught it from me. Anyhow, I hope everybody is doing good. My mic is still really bad.
It sounded better a minute ago. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to mess with your volume
I
here.
think it has to do with something on your end.
I don't know.
No?
Let's see.
Testing.
try that.
1, 2, 3.
It sounds a little bit better. All right.
Sounds kind of hot.
I can turn that down.
I'll have to get another mic. Things happen in threes. So
I turned down a little bit. All right.
there we go.
Moving on.
Anyhow, hello, Untoldians. We have I think, a really good show tonight. We have Roger Williams and Greg Howse.
Yep. Good guest tonight.
And we're going to be going deep into the Bigfoot, and I think we're going to kind of cross into the Dogman topic.
Cool. Always fun to
I have a
talk about.
feeling. I have a feeling. So these guys will discuss all of their Bigfoot encounters across the southeastern United States. And keep in mind that Greg Howse is an elected peace officer.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a law enforcement.
Yeah.
So Bigfoot, other high strangeness is going to be coming your way tonight. Grab a nice, easy, like worn out, your best favorite easy chair. Is that what they call them? Easy chairs?
I'd still call him a lazy boy.
Lazy boy?
Yeah. It's a trade name, but whatever. Works.
I always thought it was easy chair.
That too. Either way.
Yeah. Anyhow, I think you're going to need to turn me up a little bit, Jeff.
Okay.
So the feedback I'm getting just not good.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm going to go invest in another mic, I think.
Yeah. You sounded better just before the show. I don't know what happened.
You're the one that happened.
What's my fault? Okay. My fault you have a crappy microphone. All right. Sounds fair.
Oh, my God. Let's see. So what else we got? We've got
some trivia. We got some
we've got
tech
news.
breakdown.
Yep.
Got a new segment.
Yeah. I think that'll be popular. Did you?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Did you sneak a look at the bumper?
I saw the bumper. I didn't watch the clips, so I'm look at them fresh with everybody else.
And I was going to ask if you like the bumper.
I do like the bumper, and I think everybody else will too.
All right. Anyhow, well, let's start out. A viewer, Kenny Jenkins, sent in a little clip that he thought was weird because it's a jet flyover, right, over a stadium. And I think it was maybe the Super Bowl. Did they do that? Is that the Super Bowl?
I don't think so.
Well, it was some game, and they had jets that flew over really low. And at one point, if you watch them in the horizon, they instantly blink out. They don't fade away. They blink out. And he thought, oh, man, is that a glitch? So he sent it to me. Let's watch it, and you guys can decide. And I don't think anybody knew these jets were coming. Sort of queued it up, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I didn't watch the clip. I don't know where it is here.
And you see the jets just blink out. So just back it up just a tiny bit.
You want to play it again?
No, just the part when the jets fly over.
Right about there.
Yeah. And so they just blink out. You can see it.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell.
Oh.
I never get tired of that song, though.
Yeah, no. But I watched it, and they just instantly, they're gone. Like, you can see them, and they're fading, and all of a sudden, they're gone. And I told him, I thought, well, maybe it's because of the frame rate, right, in the video camera. They're going faster than the frame rate.
That would make sense. Yeah, they were hauling. They were definitely moving.
Yeah, I would imagine they had to go under the speed of sound.
Have to, yeah, over land, yeah.
7, which is somewhere, 780 miles an hour, somewhere like that.
Like right around that, yeah. I can't remember.
Anyhow, possible glitch. Keep sending me footage if you think it's really weird. All right, let's do our news.
Okay.
It's time for weird and fast news. Yeah! It's time for weird and fast news.
All right. I don't know if you heard about this. A wolf, an actual timber wolf, was seen in Los Angeles County for the first time in over 100 years.
Yeah, they're definitely making a comeback.
Yeah.
They're everywhere now.
In a remarkable wildlife milestone, a 3-year-old female gray wolf tagged as BEY03F was documented roaming in LA County, marking the first verified appearance of a wild wolf. So there you go. Yeah. Apparently it journeyed 350 miles down from the Sierra Nevada mountains, probably in search of a mate. That's what they think. Still, it's pretty cool. I think if I was in LA and saw a gray wolf, I'd be like, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I'd be more surprised by the wolf than a Bigfoot. All right, next, a mysterious deep sea creature was named with the help of the public. Scientists have officially named an unusual deep-sea creature discovered nearly 3 miles beneath the ocean's surface. And they did it with the help from thousands of online suggestions. The rare marine animal, a type of chitin, found during deep-sea research, became an unexpected internet star after a widely viewed video of a specimen circulated on YouTube. And it was, do you want to pronounce that? For red. It's an Italian name.
Perrella populi.
Yeah, there you go. It's
Populi is Latin for of the people.
It's almost like Perrella.
Almost. I'm slightly better looking than that. Just slightly.
Yeah. Looks like a little UFO.
Yeah, pretty wild.
And then an extremely rare Sierra Nevada red fox fitted with a GPS collar also showed up. What's going on? Biologists have successfully captured and fitted a GPS tracking collar on a Sierra Nevada red fox, one of the rarest mammals in the United States, in order to better understand its movements and survival needs. Estimated at fewer than 50 individuals are in the wild. This elusive fox was found in the high mountains near Mammoth Lakes, California. So there you go.
I haven't seen a fox in a long time.
I haven't either, actually. It's been maybe a year.
And they're kind of everywhere here, but yeah, you never see them.
Yeah. And then apparently some beavers went on a blind date in England. As some people may know, they are reintroducing the beaver back to the UK. Cool. And the first of its kind wildlife experiment in England, conservationists legally released 2 wild beavers back into Cornish rivers. Listen to this. After a 400-year absence.
Wow.
That's a long time for being gone. Two beavers brought from separate locations and now meeting for the first time upon release. Apparently, they splashed into their new habitats at a secret site but they name it. The Hellman Tour, making both a literal and symbolic blind date. There you go. 2 beavers on a date.
Interesting.
What could go wrong? Let's skip that one.
Okay.
And then a city-sized green comet lit up the skies. A newly visible green comet, officially named C2024E1, is blazing through space and will soon reach its closest point to Earth. Although, I love this. Although it won't be visible to the naked eye, the comet's unusual green glow is a sign of carbon content and chemical reactions in its, they call it in its coma. That's the tail, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it stand out from the normal, typical white, icy comets. So astronomers hope to study this cosmic visitor as it speeds onward, possibly never to return.
I've never seen a really good comet. I saw Halley's Comet when that was here, but it didn't look that cool. It was hard to see.
How about
a good one.
You didn't see Hale-Bopp?
No, I never saw it. Not a good. I never saw that one.
Oh, I did quite a few times. Then apparently, one of the most iconic transitional species between dinosaurs and birds. Jeff's going to pronounce that name.
Archaeopteryx.
There you go. Apparently, this has stunned scientists with newly discovered features, including odd tooth surfaces on the roof of its mouth and a highly mobile tongue. These unexpected traits suggest that the famous bird ancestor may have been feeding and sensory behaviors that are very different from previously assumed.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty neat animal.
Yeah. It looks like a bird with teeth.
It's a dinosaur. Birds are dinosaurs. It's related.
Yeah. I still always love when they say the chicken is the closest relative to T-Rex that we have.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
The chicken. I was thinking, okay. So every time you go to Colonel Sanders, you're eating T-Rex.
Eating dinosaur.
Yeah. Apparently it says, the next article says Earth's animals are still hiding surprises. 16,000 new species a year are being found globally. That's a lot.
And some people think we know everything.
Yes.
We don't.
Scientists are identifying more than 16,000 new species annually, a rate faster than ever before, from cloud forest frogs to golden eyes to bizarre deep sea critters. The search of discoveries underscores how much life remains hidden and unexplored. It's not just trivia. These new finds are critical for understanding the biodiversity and how ecosystems may respond to climate change. They always got to get that in there.
Gotta.
Every article about animals got those words, climate change. Okay, I'm glad it's changing. It would be pretty boring, I guess, if it wasn't.
Climate's always changing.
Always changing. Yep. And then this is about the backbone. Genetic shift helps explain backbone evolution. Researchers have pinpointed a tiny, did I say giny? I did, didn't I? Pinpointed a tiny genetic tweak that might explain how animals with backbones, from fish to humans, evolve such complex structures. By comparing simple sea creatures to vertebrates like frogs, they found a molecular change that jump-started the development of the vertebrate columns, shedding light on one of evolution's greatest transitions. How simple organisms became backbone creatures.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And then, let's see here. This next two are kind of like, let's just skip them. Let's go to our weird fact of the week.
Weird fact of the week.
It's now time for Untold Radio Weird Fact of the Week. That is kind of weird.
All right. So here's the weird fact of the week. Infrasound, the sound below 20 hertz, too low for human ears to consciously hear. Apparently, it triggers an unease that is a feeling of being watched. And that's, everybody talks about, everybody knows infrasound makes you feel uneasy.
Yep.
But they've pinpointed it to feeling like you're being watched, like there's a presence when you hear infrasound. Studies have shown that certain low-frequency vibrations can cause unease, anxiety, chills, nausea, and even the powerful sensation that someone is watching you. Natural sources like wind moving across the mountain ridge, distant thunder, earthquakes, waterfalls, even ocean waves can generate infrasound. Interestingly, predators such as large cats and elephants also use low-frequency sound to communicate over long distances. In controlled experiments, exposure to infrasound has caused people to report shadowy movements, peripheral vision, sudden dread, and a feeling of a presence in otherwise empty rooms. So there you go.
That's interesting.
So it's a real thing. So if you're in the woods and you're feeling like all of those things, especially being watched, and if I'd have a nickel for every time I've been in the woods with somebody and they go, I feel like somebody's watching us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's such a weird feeling. And so maybe you're getting blasted by infrasound.
Who knows? Pretty cool.
So there we go. Let's go and do so let's talk about our new segment. So we're going to do this every week. I'm going to throw in 1, 2, maybe 3 clips that could be real or might not be real, but I may know, I'll probably know the answer whether they are or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys in it's a good practice. Then you guys in chat can guess whether you think they're real or fake. And so you can, put the word, either, just real or fake. And of course, this is the AI phenomena is why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be good training. And if I think something's real, I'll explain why I think it's real or why I know it's real.
Yeah, interesting.
And because it's going to be a real problem coming up.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So it's the new segment is called, is it BS, fake, or funk?
Here we go.
Is it BS, fake as funk? Have we been punked? Punked, punked. Is it BS, fake as funk? Have we been punked? Punked, punked, punked.
That's
there you go.
I like the new bumper.
Yeah, it's my new favorite. It's my new favorite. Okay, so clip A. So pay attention, and do you think this
is not a camera glitch? A confirmed two-headed black bear sighting has emerged in Northern California. Bill and Sandy, the couple filming, described the encounter as surprisingly calm. Initial assessment suggests dual amygdala engagement. This may explain the apparent increase in situational awareness. Early indicators point to the possibility of a bifurcation.
So is it real? Fake? So let's see here. Let's see what people are saying. Laurelland says fake. Steamboat says fake. Tyler, that's fake. Lee, fake. Fake as heck. BS, no. And then David Birch goes, yeah, it's evil, and that sucks. Yep. Fake. Okay, everybody agrees it's fake. Good for everybody. It's fake.
Yeah.
Although a two-headed bear would be possible, I guess.
Unlikely you'd get that big.
Yeah, but it is possible.
Sure.
And that's the kind of crap. So people build things on things that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
They give it that chance, and the guy got a lot of hits on that. But that's fake as funk. Okay. B, let's go ahead and do this one. So let me explain it first. So the question is, can sound waves in water produce high temps up to 10,000 degrees, which is hotter than the sun? So that's the question. Can sound produce light and high temps? Go ahead. I think there's some sound there, Jeff. All right, that's enough. So the question is that fake or real?
Real. My vote on that one is I don't think that video is real.
No. I'm talking about the concept.
But that phenomenon, yeah, I think that's real.
Okay. Yeah, it is. And yes, so you're both right. It is AI, but the actual science is correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, C. Is this fake or funk? Is that fish fake or funk? All right. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't know. That I think that animal's real. I think that video is a little bit exaggerated. There is a fish that has real human-like teeth, but right. I think that one's kind of.
Slybuck says, really fake, real. Says Paku, fake, real fish. Okay, now here, then Kenny Hess says a sheep's head. Kenny's right. It is a sheep's head. I've caught them, and they have those teeth, and that is real. So the answer is real, but it does look fake. But that's exactly what they look like. They look like they're wearing dentures. Yeah, I used to catch those off the They hang around docks and piers, and you can catch them off like any kind of pier. And they use those teeth to grab like barnacles and eat that kind of stuff. That's why they like piers. Okay, there we go.
All right.
Let's do what do you need to do?
Roger just messaged me. I need to email him the link. I sent it to him in Facebook Messenger, but he would like it emailed. So I'm going to do that real quick.
All right.
While you continue talking.
Well, I can't continue talking until you're ready to continue to throw junk up.
Roger.
It's all right, no problem. I see we've got Greg Howse in the back. I'm looking forward to meeting Greg.
All right, there you go, Roger. I just emailed it to you.
All right. Let's see. Let's do our tech breakdown.
Okay.
Super quick. Sounded like I ripped my pants. All right. Okay, tech breakdown. So this is exactly what it looks like, and I've talked about this before, but this is a queen size, or what they call a double sleeping bag. And anybody who does not currently own a double sleeping bag, you have no idea what you're missing. They're not any more expensive than a regular sleeping bag. In fact, this one is available for $43.
Cheap, man.
Yeah, they're cheap. Plus, you can make 2 sleeping bags out of them. So if you do, mainly most people do car camping. They drive in, maybe they got to carry their junk 20 feet to set up tent or their camp. This is the way to go. You will never, ever want to sleep in a normal sleeping bag, ever, if you try one of these. You're going to sleep cooler in the summer. You're going to sleep warmer in the winter, the cold weather, because of all the extra insulating air. You can stretch out. In an emergency, you can make 2 sleeping bags. Somebody gets one wet, you can now make 2 of them. But if you've got a young child, you can have them join you in there, and you're still going to have plenty of room. But when you flip over, you ever been in a bag, you try to turn over, and maybe it's a little hot outside, and your whole sleeping bag flips, and next thing you know, you're laying and getting poked by your zipper because your zipper went from the side to the bottom.
Yep.
This will never happen in these.
I love it.
They're absolutely awesome. In fact, Jeff, that's what I bought you for Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
You haven't picked up.
I haven't seen you in a long time, man.
I bought you because I know you like to camp.
I do.
Bought you a double sleeping bag.
Oh, thank you very much.
You can enjoy that. But I really do recommend these. Are really super, super amazing. You can, if you want some name brand, whatever, they're still usually under $100. So they're not real expensive.
Yeah, it's nice to have.
So, you're going to want to take it probably backpacking, but I think that's really all I wanted to say. But God, trust me on it. You'll thank me. Get a double sleeping bag. They're awesome. That's it.
Cool. All right.
Super simpy. Super simpy. What do we got next?
I got to look at me. Well, it's about 22. Do you want to bring our guests on, or do you want to run some clips?
Well, let's do some clips quick. They won't take long. They're all quick.
Okay. I need to reset the browser here. I think I had some audio issues. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure. We have Roger and Greg in the back room now, and I'm going to read their bios super quick here. So, hey, Jeff. So Greg Howse and Roger Williams are here to discuss their Bigfoot encounters. Apparently they're friends. I have not met Greg, that I've said. But Roger is the host of Squatchin Holler here on the Untold Radio Network. And he's an experiencer. He's had, a lifetime of firsthand encounters. His first sighting occurred in 1985. And I don't think he mentioned it for a long time that he had, these kind of experiences. And he's documented multiple sightings. And then Greg Howse, he's a 17-year law enforcement veteran, also a volunteer fireman. Thank you, Greg, for all your service. Co-host of WoodWalkerz. And for over 26 years, Greg has lived alongside ongoing Bigfoot activity near his home. And experiences that have forced him to adapt, observe, and learn how to coexist peacefully rather than investigate from a distance. He doesn't claim titles or chase theories. Greg sticks to the facts firsthand. So that's coming up right after our clips.
Okay.
So
you want to do clips? Here we go.
All right. Clip 1 is really interesting. It's the sound. The sound is good on this. It's a drum machine like no other. You gotta check this out. It's pretty interesting. He's got magnets, and he just places these things anywhere he wants. There you go, Jeff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you could build one of those and drive your family crazy. Clip 2, sound is good. It's some whistling dogs. These are quite interesting.
Yes, that dog's whistling. And trust me, that's the last sound you want to hear. Meet the dhole, also known as the Asian whistling dog. It's a wild species of canine that's found all over Asia. And like most canines, they travel in packs of up to about 30.
It's a whistling. I've never heard that sound.
No, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And they live in Asia.
Everything's in Asia.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting wildlife over there. Clip 3, the sound is good. Now, the reason I posted this, I love gibbons.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're making some really cartoon sounds in this, so pay attention to the sounds they make. Go ahead. What do you think, Jeff? I've never heard these sounds. Have you?
Are you not hearing it?
No, I've never heard them before.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
You cannot hear me?
The audio of the clip was louder than you.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure we're communicating.
It's a little louder in my ears when I'm playing it here than it is for everybody else.
Okay. But yeah, it's a lot of weird sounds I've never heard gibbons make ever. Ever. Then we've got clip 5. The sound is good. I don't know if people have seen the goblin shark, but man, look at the teeth on these things. Clip 5. God, the earth is so many weird. Look at the teeth on that thing.
That is a strange looking critter.
Yeah, they're a deep sea shark. Clip 6, the sound is good. This is an old clip from a woman that we actually got to interview later on in her elder years for Mysterious Encounters. But this clip was posted by the Bigfoot Crossroads podcast, and I found it super interesting. Listen to how matter of fact she talks about Bigfoots. Go ahead.
Well, I know that there is Bigfoot because I've heard about him all my life since I was a little bit of a girl. I've heard my parents and different ones talk about him. They have a name for him, Lekitlega. That's what they call him. And as I always say, I'm not scared of him because to me, in the way I think, he's just another person. I'm not a bit scared of Bigfoot. I can go out anywhere alone on the mountains here. I'm never scared because I've heard about him all my life.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
Well, thank you to Bigfoot Crossroads podcast for putting that up. I love historical clips like that.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, they're untainted by any kind of
Well,
bias or
yeah. Yep, there's no tainting going on. I don't know when that was shot, but I mean it's pretty old.
Yeah.
All right, clip 7. Okay, so it's going to be footage of a bear, but this bear stands 10'5" high. It weighs 1,500 pounds.
Wow.
And it just But when people report a 10-foot or even bigger Bigfoot, I want you to kind of picture the size. Go ahead.
Good Lord, that's a big bear.
Don't get the gloves.
Did you imagine how gentle that bear has to be in order not to hurt him?
It's incredible. I mean, that bear can rip him in half. That's incredible.
What are you doing? You're gonna have me.
And that bear's head's the size of his whole body.
Oh, man, that thing's huge.
All right. A very cool clip, though.
That is a massive bear. Good Lord.
1,500 pounds. Clip 8. Sound is good. I kind of wonder what these things were doing buried. This is a real story. I studied this many years ago when these things were found. There were a bunch of these little microscopic springs that were found in permafrost. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were probably there for a long time. This is where it gets interesting. This is a very real phenomenon. Go ahead and play it.
In the 1990s, deep inside Russia's Ural Mountains, scientists discovered something strange. Microscopic metal spirals buried in soil layers dated up to 300,000 years old. These tiny coils were made of copper, tungsten, and molybdenum, some smaller than a human hair. Their perfect spiral shapes shocked researchers.
All right, that's good.
Could they be evidence of ancient...
They found literally millions of these things.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just, a few. They found piles and piles of them when they were digging into the permafrost. All right, what have we got next? Let's see here. Clip 9, sound is good.
That's what we just
played.
played.
We already
actually.
did that. We already did that. Clip 10. A lot of people think crickets make their sound with their legs. Watch this.
They don't sing with their mouths or by rubbing their legs. That is a common myth. The chirping sound comes from rubbing their wings, which act like a violin. The most fascinating part is Dolbear's law. Crickets change their rhythm based on heat. If you count their chirps in 14 seconds and add 40, you get the approximate ambient temperature in degrees Fahrenheit.
There you go.
Did not know that part. That's
So
interesting.
now, yes, now you can figure out the temp. Clip 11, sound is good. This guy, it kind of shows how you can make almost a lighter than air. Of course, it's not lighter than air, but it's pretty neutrally buoyant paper airplane. Go ahead. And he shows how to keep it airborne.
And what I'm doing is pushing enough air to create lift in front of my piece of cardboard. And and by
Just by
flipping
walking,
it, I can turn it.
creating enough current to keep it.
We're gonna fly these as much as we can, and hopefully we'll get some 114 second long flights.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's almost like a ground effect. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, what do we got? Let's go ahead and get Roger and Greg on.
Okay. All right, and welcome Roger, and welcome Greg. Hi guys.
Hey guys.
Hey Greg, did you notice that they put a disclaimer before we came on?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
You've been disclaimed.
Jeff, play it again.
Double disclaimer.
Look, I'm gonna go ahead and warn you. My redneck accent's so strong, it's probably gonna confuse the subtitles if anybody's having to
Yeah, it's good to meet you, Greg. Everybody, I've heard, I bet you 50 times, you got to get Greg on your show. So with that.
Yeah, great. You know, I don't even remember how we met, but nowadays we talk on the phone at least once a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Most time, multiple times.
Yeah, he's about an hour and a half south of me, so he's not far.
Oh, nice.
So are you still in law enforcement, Greg, or are you retired?
No, I'm still active, still going. 17. January the 7th made 17 years, and I'll be in for at least another 3.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. It's awesome, and you do volunteer firefighting too, also, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that we had our department. We have officer elections every year, and last Monday night I got reelected. I've been a safety officer for probably 16 years, and I'm also the PR. I'm the public relations guy for the department. So,
well,
do they put out disclaimers?
they need to. Hey, I've got control of the fire department Facebook page. That's scary.
Oh, no. Well, do you have any problems in going public? You know, as being in law enforcement.
No, I mean, where I'm at, I don't run around here, you know, screaming and yelling to everybody in the public that, you know, I know about Bigfoot and I've been dealing with them for 26 years. But there is a lot of people in my area that know it's graduate. It didn't drop like an atomic bomb. Let's put it that way. It's just kind of leaked out a little bit, and it's been well received. One thing here, several years ago, after I'd first got in law enforcement, I was at a Fraternal Order of Police Lodge, our FOP Lodge meetings, and there was a bunch of us that was there that night. I say a lot. There was probably 18 or so, and about half of them had left, and there was myself and, you know, 7 or 8 more still there. And it kind of got out, one of the guys that had heard about me having some encounters, and the guy was being, he was kind of being an ass about it, because he was trying to call me out in front of everybody. You know, he kind of made the snide remark of, yeah, you know what to think about somebody that believes in Bigfoot. And I just cut my eyes and looked at him, and, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it pissed me off completely. And before I could say anything, one of the older gentlemen, he had been retired for a couple of years. And this guy had 30 plus years in law enforcement. And the guy was started off as a city patrol officer, and then he went to a county and was a patrol officer there, and then worked his way up as an investigator. And then he was a chief deputy. And then he wound up, the county I'm in, and adjoining county to the west, they had a joint drug task force. It was combined for the 2 counties, and they had a massive drug task force. And this would have been in the late 80s and early through the mid 90s. And this guy is even now is still very well respected for what he did. And he was there at that meeting. And before I could say anything, That man looked up and he looked at that guy that said that. He said, "You need to shut your mouth." And of course, all the heads in the room spun toward him because he was the guy that, when he spoke, it was like E.F. Hutton talked. Everybody listened. And they all looked at him. He said, "You don't need to talk about things that you don't know about." And he said, "What you don't know is these things are real. And what he's telling you is factual." And he said, "I can tell you that because I've seen them."
Wow.
And I just looked at him, like shock and awe. And I wound up, I got him to tell me about his encounter. And it absolutely floored several guys. And that took a lot of the heat off of me because they knew that if they were going to give me heck about it, they were giving him heck about it. And it just kind of diffused the whole situation.
So after that long of dealing with Bigfoot on your property, and I can't wait to hear your encounter story. What is your kind of go-to statement about these creatures if a skeptic or somebody is just curious says, well, yeah, I'm open-minded, but, can you tell me a little bit? You're in an elevator, right? You don't have a lot of time. What do you tell them?
I would tell them that I've been in law enforcement for 17 years, and I got my position by being brutally open and honest with everybody because I'm an elected peace officer. I didn't get hired. I was elected. I had to run for office, and I've been elected 5 times. And I won my position by a massive landslide. It's voted on districts. The polling booth that I'm elected through, I think the most we had on a turnout was around 850 or 60 that turned out to vote. And that was the biggest number. Now, most time it's in the higher 600, 700 range. But this term that I was elected to last year, I had the most votes against me that I had. Well, excuse me. Let me back up. I was unopposed this last election, so I went in unopposed. But in the previous 4 times I was elected, the most amount of votes that I had against me was the other guy running for the office got 17 votes, and I got the remainder out of like 850 something. So, I'm apparently pretty well liked in my community because to me that was a massive landslide. Yeah. And I had one guy had 11 votes one time, and I think the other 2 was single digits. And, I carried the office tremendously. But what I try to tell people, if they're a skeptic, is I ask them, I said, okay, what other than you actually laying your eyes on one and having your own encounter, for you, where do you set the bar at that you would believe? Do you want sworn testimony? You tell me the person that you regard in high respect. Do you want to talk to a judge? Do you want to talk to a circuit judge, a district judge, a federal judge? Do you want a doctor, a lawyer, Indian chief? Do you want a teacher, a politician? Do you want a Baptist minister, a Catholic priest? Who do you want to tell you that you will believe their word? Because if you'll give me about 48 hours, I'll get 5 of each one that you want. It may take me a couple of days, but I can find those people, and they will sit here and tell you a story that will blow your socks off. And you'll watch the emotion. You'll see it in their eyes. You'll hear it in their voice. You'll see that they've probably got PTSD from it. What people do you want? And then I always, my go back is to fall back on the Patterson-Gimlin. And, Patterson-Gimlin was recorded several years before I was born. I mean, I'll be 52 in April. I'm a 74 model. Look back, Planet of the Apes come out that year that Patterson filmed that. Look at the Planet of the Apes. I mean, they won all kind of, awards for Planet of the Apes movie. Look at the Planet of the Apes movie. Look at the apes. Look at the costumes. How by nowadays they're cheesy. Then look at the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Look at that and tell me that if you got 2 broke cowboys financially bankrupt, that if you could pull that off, that you wouldn't be a multi-millionaire almost overnight when you went to Hollywood and said, look, here's what I can do. Because every movie producer on the planet would have flocked to you and said, name your price. Why would you go through the rest of your life and be broke and penniless and not use that. I mean, even right now, other than AI, and AI, we all know it's pretty good, but still, you can tell AI from legitimate stuff. Up till AI, there was nobody could even close to reproduce what the Patterson Gimlet footage is.
Right.
And for me, what I've seen right here in North Alabama, the boogers that I've seen look a whole big bunch like Patty, the Patterson Gimlet footage. That's what set it in for me. I mean, once I saw the first one that I got a good look at that ran across the road in front of me, I mean, it's like, that was Patterson's animal just across the highway. And, but what I saw was absolutely massive. I'm talking about massive on all kind of scales of girth and bulk, height. It was like a tank come across the road. And, that's what I tell people though is, which basically people label the patty is a type 1. Well, that's what I see here in North Alabama. Now, that's not to misconstrue that we don't have other ones, because we get a lot of reports of what people label as the type 2 also. But what I've seen with my eyes is the type 1s.
So I guess if you could just tell me real quick, how many encounters have you had visual encounters, and then how many encounters that were not visual where you had things happen where you knew what it was?
Which it's hard. It would be hard for me to put. It would be hard for me to put a number on it as far as the encounters, because when I would say, used to tell people dozens and dozens.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them thinking I was absolutely freak cake when I told them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
But when you having, sometimes 15, 20 encounters a month, then you may go 5 or 6 weeks and nothing happened. And then I may have an encounter one morning while I was hunting, go back that evening and have another encounter. And I might go hunting 3 days in a row and have encounters every day. It would just be a different degree of an encounter. And I don't really count as a sighting where I caught glimpses. I saw something move that went from tree to tree. It was black, it was big, or I saw something look like an arm, maybe something come out from behind a tree. I don't count that because I can't tell you without a doubt that that's what I saw. But now the ones that I do count, since 2000, I've saw 4, a total of 4. That's what I've saw. And when I say those 4, it was a lot of it was the sightings that people dream of having, because the first sighting, I was in a truck going down the road. It crossed the road in front of me. I mean, it was amazing. I watched this thing do stuff that no creature should be able to do. It shouldn't be able to happen. The last sighting I had was in my yard at my cabin, and that's where I'm at now. And that one was just standing at the wood line, and when I drove up, it was right against the wood line directly in front of my truck, and I was looking at the side profile.
Wow.
And then another one I saw that it crossed the highway on me. So I've had 2 highway crossings. The other one, I topped the hill, and when my headlights shone down in the little valley, there's 2 hilltops and a little swag down. And when my headlights came down, I mean, I was looking at a dark orangey reddish eyeball that looked like it was that big. And it was, affixed on a creature that was over 8 foot tall, and it was going across the highway, going to my left. And when I first saw it, it was on the center line. And I watched it make 2 more strides and jump off a bank, land on the dirt about probably 7 foot elevation where it dropped off. I saw this thing just try a little bigger, hit the ground, and then run into the woods. The other one I walked up on, I'd snuck in a place deer hunting, and I was going out a ridge, and I came through a bunch of pine timber with a lot of straw on the ground. So I was going really super quiet. It was a little bit damp, but I popped out in some hardwood timber that went out a ridge, and it fell off to my left down in a swag in a hollow. It flattened out, went back up another big hill, and it was about 100 yards from where I was at to the bottom of the hollow. And I took 3 or 4 steps and trying to go really slow, super easy, and not make any noise. And I wasn't going to go far, and I was just going to sit down and watch this hollow. And I watched. I looked down, and I'm looking around, and I looked back ahead, and I looked down where I was stepping. I took one more step, and to my left, down in the bottom of this, it was like the whole world turned upside down. By the time I jerked my head in and focused on the bottom, about 100 yards away, there are leaves. Leaves are just flying through the air, and it's coming out like a mushroom cloud. Stuff is just flying. There's sticks and limbs and leaves and straw, and it's just flying through the air. It looked like you had put a bunch of gasoline under a tarp covered with leaves, and it just explodes. And I see this black 2-legged upright creature explode out of that, and that's when all the debris is just flying, and it's just coming down like all directions. And this thing takes off running, and it's running directly away from me. It's going up the other hill. And I'm watching this thing run, and it's darting back and forth, and it's run and it cut and it go around a tree, because this was big, giant, big hardwood trees, and it's pretty open timber. But I watched this thing run over 100 yards up that other hill. When it got to the top of that ridge, I watched it crown over the ridge, and I lost it on account of the timber. It was still darting around the trees leaving. But that's the 4 that I saw really, really good, as far as there's no way you can mistake it. It's not a boy. It's not a person. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, but you're seeing very broad shoulders, crazy amount of height, or maybe not so much height.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the first one I saw that crossed the highway, when I saw it, the time it did through its whole motion and it crossed the road, it ran by. There was a power line, so I had the road I was on was going straight ahead, and there was a power line that paralleled it, just right beside each other. And to far end of that straightaway, the road banked real hard to the left, and the power line, of course, had to turn too. So the power pole on that corner where the road turned, it had a guiding wire that came down and had the stub augured in the ground in the cable. Well, they had mowed or bush hogged everything under the power line and cleaned it up. Well, they had made a loop around that anchor with the tractor, and they couldn't cut a big privet hedge. And the privet hedge come out in there, and it widened out. It looked like a stem of broccoli sticking up. Well, that Bigfoot, when it jumped the ditch and it ran between me and the privet hedge that was there on the ground, and it ran within, I'd say, 10, 12 feet. So, I've got that for a backdrop, and I watched it go in front of it and go across the privet hedge behind it. So I kind of, marked it in my head that this thing liked about this much, being as tall as the very top of that privet hedge. Well, after we went back, my dad and I went back that evening, and I took a tape measure, and I measured that privet hedge, and that thing was like 10'3", 10'4" tall. So conservatively, this thing was 8.5 feet tall. And by going by that height, this thing from shoulder to shoulder, its width had to be as wide as a sheet of plywood. It had to be 4 feet wide.
Wow.
And guesstimation from its chest to its backbone, it had to be 2 foot or over thick.
Does it make you a little bit angry? You've had such amazing, clear out in the open sightings. And I'm going to pose this to you too, Roger. Like, if you watch Joe Rogan and he's like, yeah, they're just a bunch of, guys, they're just seeing black bears. It's all they're seeing is black bears. And then you have to sit there and listen to that, knowing full well you have not seen a black bear. You would know what a black bear looks like, especially out in the open. I mean, give me a break. I could see a black shadow in the woods, maybe a fleeting, could be a black bear. But does that make you angry at all? Or what do what's going through your head? So, Roger, do you want to answer that first?
Well, I've been through this on other subjects. We started having mountain lions came in, followed the armadillos in, and everybody was like, "You sure it's not a bobcat?" And I'm like, "The tail is as long as a bobcat," and it's kind of insulting a little bit, but you kind of realize where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about somebody like Joe Rogan, that's when I turn it off because I don't want to listen to any more of it. And I understand he's never seen one, but he's a big tough guy. I mean, if he, I would love to see how he would react if he saw half the stuff that, you know, Greg's seen way more than I have, but I would love to see somebody like that get their eyes on one. And when they realize that they're not the alpha that this thing is, and how, like Greg said, I saw one time, the shoulders, Heather has a full-size Chevy 4-wheel drive, and the shoulders on this thing was almost as wide as the front of the truck. And and I'm like, oh my God. It's just, so yeah, at first it made me mad, but interviewing people, talking to people out in public now, getting a lot of reports, you still have that one that lasts. But one thing I do realize, one of the reactions when something scares you, you might chuckle, you know. So these people don't want them to be real, and I understand that. But there is an aspect to it that,
like, what's funny about Joe Rogan is he believes they used to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's very convinced they used to exist, but he's so convinced that everything everybody's seen is, it's a mistaken identity. And when you have sightings that could not be mistaken identity, those experiences somehow need to get through to people. So it's very important that, when you tell your stories, that you know how important it is, and that you get across when you're telling your stories that what you saw couldn't be anything else other than a Bigfoot.
And that's why we surround ourselves with this group, Greg and some of the people we know around the Southeast. Right. They're not going to exaggerate. I've seen things. I saw something in the LBL one night, and it was huge, and it looked like it was digging on the side of the road after midnight. But I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see an elbow, an ear, or anything or tail that would tell me, hey, this is a hog. Hey, this is a bear. Hey, this is. And that shook me up also. But I can't count that as a Bigfoot sighting because I don't know. So we don't say, hey, we saw a Bigfoot. Now there are some people that do, but this group that we have, that's why we're comfortable with each other. Because Greg's the first one. If I call him and tell him something, he'll be like, we'll talk it through. And he's, well, you sure it wasn't this? You sure it wasn't that? But when you see them out and open in the daylight, whatever, like Greg's talking about, that first encounter or that first sighting he had was in the middle of the day. So you have to, I don't say give benefit of the doubt, but if you have somebody that's been around animals all their life, been out in the woods in their area, and they see something that's not supposed to be there, they've never seen before, and the size of these things, y'all, the people that are listening to this, they leave no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, every bear I've ever seen looked like a bear at every distance. I've been just a few feet away, and every one of them looked like a bear.
So, Greg, okay, so if you got an opportunity to go on the Rogan show, do you think you could convince him that you're telling the truth, and then and you're not mistaken? Do you feel confident in that?
Well, I mean, here's my deal. I mean, this is what I bring to the table. I grew up in North Alabama in a small town out in the country, and I grew up. Let's put it like this: when I mowed my mom and dad's yard, if I ran out of the edge of their yard, I was on national forest land. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of acres that, our property was surrounded on three sides by national forest land. And, my dad was born in 1938. And, I come along later in his life, but my dad was an outdoorsman. I'm talking about like avid outdoorsman. He, hunted, fished, he trapped. We actually commercial fished a good bit of my early years of my life. And, we've hunted in numerous counties all over the state of Alabama. And, I was that guy. You're talking about like Rogan not believing it. And I know Rogan's an outdoorsman. He's apparently into bow hunting and stuff like that. and that's pretty cool. But my part of it is I was that guy. I was the guy that would have. A matter of fact, I've made the statement. I've been in these woods my whole life. I've never seen anything. I've never seen a track. I've never heard something that I really, that stuck out that I couldn't figure out what it was. I wasn't scared. I'm a gun aficionado. I shoot a lot. Just, I live in the woods pretty much. And, I was that guy. I mean, if it was legal to hunt it in the state of Alabama, odds are I've hunted it and I've been really good at harvesting it. I mean, you go in my home and, I've got, at my house, there's probably 30 sets of deer horns, and then there's 10 full shoulder mounts. I've got bobcats mounted. I've got a rattlesnake. I've got a rattlesnake on my wall that was over 6 foot long. It's tanned. I mean, I killed a 5.5 foot rattlesnake with a compound bow. I mean, you name it, I've done it. I mean, my dad had a charter boat at Gulf Shores, Alabama. We just lived outdoors, and I was the guy that would have said, just like Rogan, I don't really believe in it. Well, my part of it was I didn't believe it here, not in Alabama. Pacific Northwest, looking at the Patterson Gimlin footage, I couldn't explain it. I was rational enough and thought about it enough that I'm like, okay, you pretty much got me sold with the video. And then it's a child, the legend of Boggy Creek. I'm thinking, okay, but I'm on the east side of the mighty Mississippi. Them things ain't over here. That's what I thought, because my grandpa, my dad, me, my brothers, all my friends, we never had an encounter, never had anything to suspect an encounter. And then then about 2000, my whole life changed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. So you went from skeptical, very educated outdoorsman, and suddenly you're seeing something that completely changed your paradigm. Yeah. Were you skeptical of your own sighting for even a moment?
No, Doug, what it worked up to, not the sighting, but my cousin him and his sister and his mother owned a timber company. They had a sawmill, and they had a lot of land here in North Alabama. I hunted a good bit of his property that I still hunt to this day. When he passed away, he left it in a will, left a big portion of land in a trust fund, and he willed me, as long as I draw a breath, I own the hunting rights on 400 about 50 acres. All right, it can't be sold. It stays in the family. And as long as I live, my wife or my 2 children, we own the hunting rights. Like I said, he had a bunch more property, and I hit him up 99, 2000, somewhere in there, about a piece of property that I knew he had, and it was surrounded on all 4 sides by U.S. Forestry Service land. And it was, I call it a small 40-acre tract. It was a square 40, and it joined the river. On one boundary was on this river that runs through, and it had been clear cut. They had clear cut probably 30 acres of it, and they left the 10 acres like a border down the slope down to the river because of erosion. Well, he didn't spend the money to have it planted back professionally in pines. He just basically got his money, just let the land sit. It came back volunteer. And it was any kind of oak, any kind of pine we've got in North Alabama. It was briars, honeysuckles, kudzu, you name it. It was a grown-up jungle. Well, this land had been setting for, 5, 6, 7 years. And I knew that land was there, and I had hunted down this road on some of this government land, but not very often. And I got to thinking about that property and him owning it, and I knew he had it. Well, I asked him one day, I said, why don't you lease me that 40 you got down here? And he said, why? I said, well, I got thinking about it. All that government land surrounding it. You can't plant any green fields to draw the deer. Of course, in Alabama, it was illegal to put out bait unless it was all gone 10 days before you hunted it. My thoughts was, okay, there's a chunk of government land here that's just this one piece. It's probably 10,000 acres. Well, if I can go kind of way down deep into it, probably a mile or so, and I've got this private land that I can clean it up, clear it up, and plant some green fields with, wheat, oats, and ryegrass and clover and turnips and all this stuff to drag the deer in, I'm going to have a little honey hole to hunt. Nobody else can hunt it. I'm going to draw all these deer in there so I can kill them. Well, he's like, look, son, you just go over there and do whatever you want to on that property. Just treat it like it's yours. I'm like, well, okay. So my dad, he had his own bulldozer. I drove the truck. I've got CDL license. I drove the truck, brought the dozer over, unloaded it, went in and cleared 2 green fields. And what it was where they had set up the knuckle boom loader to load the logs on the truck. They would drag them up out of the woods with a skidder, pick them up, load them on a truck, and haul them out. We call it a bedding ground. So I cleared up 2 bedding grounds. There was one down by the river and one up on top of the mountain. And they were 300 or so yards apart because they were kind of diagonal across this 40-acre tract, but they weren't right at the corners. Well, I had 2 really nice green fields. The top one was probably 1.5 acres when I first started, and the bottom one was a little over 0.5 acre. But we planted them, we got it cleared out, and I made a road that went all the way nearly on the property line, looped this property. I went through down about 30 foot from the riverbank and went around through with the dozer, just making a trail I could drive my Jeep through. So that way, if we killed a deer down there, I didn't have to drag it by hand. But anyway, we got this property prepped, got ladder stands put up, we got everything planted, and the deer were absolutely coming out of the woodwork, just trampling these fields. I mean, they were eating the grass down. I thought they were going to eat it down so low they were going to kill it. And I'll tell people, if I'd have went like before opening day of that season, if I'd went in that field you'd blindfolded me and spun me around, and I took my hat and just tossed it. When I walked over to get that hat, when I picked it up, there would have been 3 deer tracks under that hat. They were just like coming in like they were mowing it. Well, the first day we hunted, we were waiting on October the 15th. That's when bow season opened here. Dad and I went to hunt. He went to the upper field because it was easy walking from where we parked. It was just level ground, about 200, a little over 200 yards to the field. But when you went in the gate, you went to the right, immediately went down, and it was on a pretty steep slope, about like this. It went down. I don't know how many degrees, but it was pretty steep. It went down. And it ended up, when it kind of leveled out, there was that lower green field. Well, I had a ladder stand down there, one in the upper field, and I go in there. We get in there, 3 or so hours before dark, wait on the deer to come out that evening. Well, I sit there and I'm thinking, man, there's going to be deer just flooding this field at any time. There ought to be deer coming out because all these tracks, the grass is eaten down. Well, I sit there and sit there and sit there. Well, it's approaching dark, and anybody that deer hunts very much, they'll tell you that that's the prime time for deer to come out in the field is right at dark. So I'm sitting there watching this field, and it's about a little over 80 yards to the far end, and it's about 25, 30 yards wide, and it kind of, in and out. Well, at the end of the field in the big hardwood between me and the river is probably 150, 200 feet down to it. It's not far, but if you went through this field and sloped down to the river, I hear the loudest tree knock that you could even imagine. It sounded like you were hitting kiln-dried 2x12s together and just slapping, like you were slamming 2 books together.
Almost like a gunshot?
Yes, sir. It's like a high-powered rifle going off, and it sounds so hard. It sounds like lumber is splintering when it hits this tree. It's just, and it hit 3 times. Just kapow, kapow, kapow. Well, instantly, I'm upset. I'm talking about, I'm like not a happy camper because here I have sitting here, done all this work on this property, spent all this money and time, and I've got some moron out the end of my field. And look, this couldn't have been over 20, 25, 30 yards out the end of the field into this hardwood. And in my mind, there's probably some idiot that had been hunting this land illegal for probably who knows how long. And then they figured out that we're in here and we've done this work and fixed the property up. And we're kind of raining on their parade. They can't really come in here and hunt because we're hunting on this property. Well, I'm thinking this dude's being a-hole and trying to keep me from seeing deer, and he's down here just making all this noise. So I sit there and, I'm fuming. I think, well, if he come in, this is a dead-end road. He had to come by where I'm parked to go down below this property. So he's going to be parked there, because it's a little over a mile back to the road, or to the main road. So instead of me going down in the woods and confronting him, I'm going to book it back up the hill, and I'm going to go to my truck, and there's no way that this dude can come out. You know, I'm thinking if I get down and go out there, dude can take off. But if I head him off and he's got to come by me to leave, I'm going to have a heart-to-heart conversation with this dude. Well, I walk back up the hill. There's no vehicles come out from this bottom. Dad comes out. He said, "Did you see anything?" I said, "Nope." Or actually, I asked him if he saw anything. He said, "No, I didn't see nothing." He said, "Did you?" I said, "No, I didn't see nothing." He said, "Well, I knew you wasn't going to see nothing." Said, "All that racket you was making down there." Said, "You had everything in the world run off." I said, "That wasn't me." He said, "That wasn't you beating on something?" I said, "No." I said, "It was out the end of the field. Some idiot's down here beating on a tree with a stick." He said, "Boy, that thing was echoing." Said it was echoing plumb up there to that field I was in. I said, "Well, I don't know what they was hitting, but I said it was sound like rifle shots going off." He said, "Well, reckon who it is?" I said, "Look, I have no clue, but I said they got to be parked down the end of this road." Well, from where we were parked at the gate, it was only a quarter of a mile to the end of this where it drops off at the river, and there's no way out. We sat there for several minutes. It's done got black dark. And I thought, this dude is going to give me time to make sure I leave before he comes out. So Dad, I said, "Shut your door." He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fixing to drive off this mountain, and I'm going to go see who it is because they're waiting on us to leave, and I'm going to bust their bubble." We drive down through there, and it's old long road through hardwood timber, pine timber, and then it drops off. It's a big steep hill, and there's ruts in this washed out. You've got to have a really good four-wheel drive to get down there. Well, I go off across these ruts, and trucks twisting and turning, and it levels out, and it's a dead end. There's nowhere for anybody to go. There's nobody there. There's no vehicle. There's no person. There's no nothing. Well, the only way that they could have got in there, they would have had to come just through the woods, you know, over a mile. And I'm thinking, well, where did this person go? And that's kind of what started it. From there on out, the first year, we would have them come in and tree knock. And one of the most prevalent things they would do would they would whoop, WHOOP. They would whoop really loud. And I've had these things, you'd hear them whoop from, you know, sound like a quarter of a mile away. So I've had them, they would be in that grown up cutover within like 30, 40 feet. And they would whoop so loud it would hurt your ears. A lot of times they would whoop, one would answer, be further away. And a lot of times when they would tree knock, most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, the first one you'd hear tree knock would be really close to my location. It may be 30 yards and it may be 100 yards, but it would be pretty close. It would knock 3 times. And then if you'd give it just a few, like a minute or so, 30, 60 seconds, if you'd listen, sometimes you could hear it really good. Sometimes it would be a long way off, but you'd hear a reply knock. And I know it wasn't an echo because here's the deal. Most time the initial tree striking would be 3 hits and the reply would be 2. It wasn't like you was just hearing the echo, you know, a little bit later. So it would start with 3 and answer with 2. We heard a good many whistles. It'd be a monotone, real loud whistle, and you could hear them walking. You could hear them walking through the timber around that cutover. They would cut and go through that old growed up cutover. And we're talking about this cutover was probably 12, 13 feet high, and it's like looking through this wall. I mean, it was just a jungle. They could walk within 20 feet of the field or less, and you couldn't see them. I mean, it was like looking through this wall. But you could hear the bipedal walking. You could hear limbs breaking. I've heard them get tangled up in like briars and honeysuckle vines, and they would keep pushing through it, and you could hear the leaves ripping off of the vine and hear the line snapping and breaking, like it just the pressure pulling on it. And I've seen like being in that ladder stand, and you'd be above the tops of all that cutover, and you're looking out across it. You know, this on that top field more especially, it was level. It would have been probably 5 or 6 acres of just pure level ground in this corner of that property. And when you were in it, it was like being up on a ladder on top of something where you were looking across like a cornfield. You know, like the tassels are up, and you're just seeing it like a yard that's mowed. I've heard these things coming. And not only could I hear it, and in my mind, just knowing what the sound sound like, trying to go through that myself, you know, I'm hearing limbs break. And there's a difference that you know, if you're in the woods enough, you can tell the difference between a pine limb and a hardwood limb break. You can tell hardwood leaves that's getting stepped on versus it's stepping in straw. You can tell if the ground's dry versus if it's wet. You know, you're hearing these vines and they're being pulled and ripped loose. And in my mind, I'm imagining how this thing's coming through. And not only can I hear it and say, well, it's right here. I could use my ears and pinpoint where it was. But I could also use my eyes, and if you'd watch that grown-up jungle, I've seen like pine saplings be standing up, and you'd see them bend over and then whip back up like it was pushing its way through, and as it stepped by, it turned it loose. And I've watched pine trees that big just whip back up, and I've seen it go between them, and you'd see them part. You may have pines like this far apart, a couple of feet, and you'd see the tops lean out. And then they'd whip back and they'd do this and get still, and that thing would keep going, walking around the field. And you know, I watched it plow through.
Crazy. Roger, have you been to Greg's house?
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How far away is he from you?
Hour and a half. About an hour and a half.
That's close. Yeah, that's really close.
We the second tracks I ever found was behind his man cave at the river.
Really?
And it looked like a mom and a little one, because the mom had walked out and the river was really far down, and the water was trickling. It was running, but it wasn't much there. It's really sandy down there. And my son and I saw the wind had been blowing, the leaves were on the ground, and I was like, are those holes or those tracks? And we started gingerly pulling out leaves. And the small track, which was like 7 or 8 inches, when I first saw the toes, I flipped out. I was filming, and I said a few ugly words. I do that sometimes when I'm surprised. And but the thing about it, Doug, the mom had walked out of the woods from his back of his place. It's what, 300 feet down off that bluff, maybe.
Yeah.
And so they had walked up and came out, but there was only one set of tracks. After she stepped out about 4 steps and stood still, there appeared 2 sets of tracks, small ones, and the pressure looked like it was set down. It didn't walk out. So we felt like it was a little one, and she set it down. It turned and walked down to the river and put the right foot, the ball of the right foot on a little rock, and the left foot was out, splayed out. Wow. And was standing there overlooking the water. So, and we believe she might have laid down too, because there looked like a spot where she kind of laid down. So, but we were new at all this, and you're not professional.
So how many acres of forest, Greg, surround your area, including what you own and, you know, other wooded properties? What would be a guess?
Well, there's some private land that's trickled in here and there. I mean, it'll be, especially like on the road front, there'll be some private land. But, you know, I'm on the east side of a big national forest, and, you know, let's just put it like this. From me to the next road north of me, if you went walking crow fly, would be over 10 miles of nothing but woods.
Well, Greg, I believe I looked it up. That national forest behind you has what, 700,000 acres?
Yeah, Roger, it's a lot. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's massive. But the next road, if you went by boat, the way the creek or the river does the, you know, S's and horseshoes and all that, it's about 13, 14 miles to the next road. And there's nothing really. They put in a few houses here behind me a couple of years ago, but they're weekend places and nobody.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that's full-time residents, but now look, last week, a buddy of mine worked for the guy that's got a place over here, and this guy he's trying to move in there and get him somewhere to stay, but this guy has been basically sleeping in his vehicle and sleeping in a tent because he's trying to get him a house built. And my buddy called me, it was Friday last week. He said, you need to talk to that boy. Said he works with me, and said he's got a place in there behind your man cave. Said it ain't half a mile. I said, well, no, that where they lotted that off don't go far. He said, this dude told me, he said, man, I got some stuff going on over. I said, I can't explain. He said, it sounds like kids playing in the river. And he said, at night, there's stuff, it sounds like somebody comes up and walks around my camp or my place. And he said, man, they said, it'll growl. And said, I've heard some scream stuff at night. Said, I don't know what's over. I said, did you tell him to get a hold of me? He said, yeah, I told him he needed to talk to you because you knew a whole lot about what was going on. So now I hadn't talked to the guy yet, but I'm going to, and I'm going to kind of warn him on what he needs to be looking out for.
Okay. Go ahead, Roger.
Well, Greg, without giving too much information, not far from you, last year, the police were called because a whole neighborhood, a guy had shot at a big male, they think, and it was running up and slapping the walls and knocking pictures off the walls and screaming. And it was terrorizing the whole neighborhood for a couple nights. And it was all over the scanners and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 911 calls. They was calling 911 dispatch, and they was dispatching the sheriff's office out. And actually, the deputy that went out on the calls, he contacted me. He's like, look, dude. He's like, I talked to a couple of other older deputies. They told me to call you and talk to you about what's going on over here. I said, well, what are you talking about? He said, look, we have had like in one evening within probably 2.5 hours, there were 3 houses. From what I gathered, there was 3 houses within about 1/8 of a mile of each other, or 8-mile stretch. The 3 houses the walls were beat on, stuff was rocks, stuff thrown on top of the house. They were hearing screams and yells and growls. And one dude went outside because his dog was going crazy. He grabbed a gun and went out and seen one take off running, and he shot at it. Now, whether he hit it or not, I don't know. But now that house that they did that to, the guy that shot at it, over a course of about 4 days, they wound up calling 911 like 3 or 4 different times because they were getting, were being basically harassed by this thing. And I've yet to go over there, and I've got the guy's address. I don't have his name, but I'm going to go try to talk to the people. I've been waiting to see if anything else happens, but that would have been the last week of August or first week of September of last year. But
yeah. Have you ever had your cabin or home attacked from, like wall pounding or rock throwing at it?
Man, I've had this cabin slapped. I've had them shake the whole cabin. I've had them, it sounded like you took a 200-pound guy on a huffy bicycle, hard as he could go, ram it into the wall. It'll shake my recliner and me sitting in it. Yeah. I'm 6'1", about 210 pounds, and it'll shake the floor. It'll shake this whole cabin when it hits. They've hit this cabin before I built onto it. The old part of it, they were bad about. I would sleep on a sofa, and my head would be kind of in the corner and just on the other side of a wall. We're talking 5 inches thick. There was a 6x6 treated timber that holds the back porch up. They would hit that timber, sound like you hit it with a sledgehammer, and they would hit it right by my head. I'd jump up, I'd go to the door, I'd have a .357 Magnum or either a light shotgun in my hand. You wouldn't have nothing. They'd be gone. They may do it 4 or 5 days in a row, and then it may go 3 or 4 weeks, nothing happened, and then out of the blue, they're hitting the wall again.
Why do you think they're doing that, Greg? It's nuts when they do. I've experienced it many times, but why do you think they do it?
I think they can be assholes, but just honestly, that's what it is.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I mean they like absolutely instigate stuff. It's like they get their joy out of scaring people. And now, look, after
whoa, just hang on a second. Do you think maybe they have a sense of humor? They just, literally.
Doug, I've heard them laugh.
I'm being serious.
Honest to God, I've heard them laugh and I've heard them giggle. That's honest to God's truth. I heard what had to be 3 or 4, what I would guess was juveniles. Let me set this up. I was in a green field on this property that I hunt. My stand is in the middle of a 28-acre field. From where my stand is, I've got it camouflaged in. There's one tree. I've got a stand in it. And directly behind me is about 120 yards to the wood line. It's about 120 in front of me. And it's 400 this way and 300 this way. So I'm in the middle, and I can control with my Browning rifle. I can control anything in that field. 28 acres, it's mine if I want it. This is like in December, and it's like 23, 24 degrees. This is like maybe an hour before dark. Directly behind me across this field, it goes up a hill, and it's a pine thicket. I'm talking about a grown-up pine jungle with briars and just honeysuckles and just growed up. You'd have to hack your way through it because the pines, the limbs are all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
And I start hearing laughing. Now, dude, I'm in there, and we're talking about crowfly. It's probably close to a mile to a house.
There's nobody around us.
Like, Roger's been there. He's seen it. This is the middle of nowhere. All right. I start hearing it sounds like children playing. It sounds like they're laughing, and one would laugh, one would kind of squeal, and you would hear them take off running, and it was like one chasing the other. And then it sounded like one's going this way, one's behind it, and it's like some are going that way, one's going down. They're like scattering. And then this one is like zigzagging back and forth, and it was like it would run up to one, and then there would be two take off. It was like they were hiding from each other and chasing each other, and you'd hear one kind of it'd be a low pitch, kind of like a squeal, kind of like a girl when you grab them, how they squeal, but it was a low pitch. It would do that. These things would giggle. I'm talking about giggle. And then you would hear them laugh, and then they'd take off again. I listened to this the better part of 20 minutes, and it's starting to approach darkness, and I'm like, I've got to get me out of here. I'm not staying till dark because my thoughts on it, by this time, I've done seen them. I know what they are. I know what's going on, but I've never experienced this part. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is some young ones. They're in here playing. Well, I'm going to tell you this. My experience with them, you're not going to see one. And if you see some young ones, odds are there's an adult looking out for them somewhere close. Well, I don't want to be, it goes back to the whole factor of never get between a mama grizzly and her cubs. I don't want to be between a mama booger and her cubs either. And I don't know if these cubs come out in the field. They don't know I'm there. They're not paying attention. And there was a couple of times them things would come down within probably 10, 15 foot of the edge of the field and cut and go back because I was convinced, oh my God, they're fixing to bust out in the field. They never did come out where I could see them, but they'd run right to the edge and cut and go back. And the side of this hill, they were probably on a 3 or 4 acre spot that they stayed in the boundaries of this. And they were just playing and running and giggling and breaking limbs. And you're hearing vines ripping. There's no kids on the planet, not human kids, could do what I heard. Ain't no way. But that, you talking about creepy.
Doug,
that was one of the creepiest things I've ever heard.
Two things. When people, Kumbo's in the chat, and when he said it was thick and hard to walk through in the hills, and it's an understatement. And I've been in places with him where I could have been standing in a yellow range slicker 10 feet away and you couldn't have seen me. So I was making fun. We were in the Jeep and I'm like, where did they hide? Where did they hide? They could, I mean, this Tennessee's different where I'm at, just a few miles away. Down there, you could get turned. I could see you getting turned around and getting lost pretty easily, because there's nothing with sound. I have an interstate in one place where if I get turned around, I'm like, oh, well, the interstate's this way, and there's down there, you're just by yourself. And a lot of places there is no phone signal. I found that out the hard way. So I got lost and we just had to keep driving.
Okay. I've got so many questions. Jeez. And to try to get short answers out of either of you guys is probably asking too much. Which is fine. We can stay on as long as we want. Okay. Have you ever had one jump on your roof, Greg?
Yes, sir. 100%. Been a couple of years ago. I was sitting in my recliner here. It was probably 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And it was drizzling rain. The wind was just barely moving. But it was just a really super slow rain. I can hear the water dripping off. I've got a metal roof. And now this metal roof is wood rafters, and it's decked with plywood. and then I've got tar felt, and then I've got roof metal on that. So it's a really sturdy roof. And matter of fact, when the guys were on it, I was in here and they were putting the metal on it. We're talking about guys that was 200, 220 pounds, 250 maybe. They could walk around on it and you could just barely hear them up there. Well, I'm sitting in the recliner and I've got the TV turned down and I'm like looking at my phone, and I hear something hit my back porch. Now this cabin, the inside living area, is 1,200 square feet. It's 30 feet wide, 40 feet long. And then I've got a 12-foot back porch that's 40 feet and 12 foot wide. It's covered. I hear something hit that roof on that metal roof on that porch. And it sounds like you have dropped, like 100-pound sack of potatoes. Just whoom. First thing I think is that a big tree limb has fell off, because I got trees all around me. I thought, well, maybe there's a tree limb fell and it's tore my porch up. Well, just as that sound, just that big thunderous crash, I start hearing a cadence coming up the roof line, and it comes up and over the peak and comes down the other side. Well, I'm over here on the downhill side, so this thing goes at an angle. It don't go straight up the roof line over the peak and straight down. It's coming from, like, say the northwest side coming toward the southeast corner. Or actually, yeah, that's what northwest, southeast. The thing comes up and over the roof and comes down the other side. And when it stops, I hear it coming and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking at the roof and I can tell where it's at. And I'm hearing it coming. And this thing runs exactly. If it'd been a hole in the roof and that thing was holding a string with a plumb bob, it would have been in my lap. It stopped directly over the chair I was sitting in. And I'm sitting there freaking out, like, this thing just got on my roof, and it ran up and over and ran down this side, and it had the craziest cadence to it. It wasn't like bipedal, like blonk, 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 blonk. No, this is like doop-de-lump, 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 doop-de-lump. And it reminds me of I tell people, when you see a gorilla and they're standing over there and they got their elbows are kind of bent and they got their knuckles down, and they start to walk, and it's like knuckles and then feet, knuckles and feet. They kind of go sideways, angling. That was kind of the cadence that I was hearing coming up and over. And that thing stops over my chair. Well, now look, if I'm sitting in my chair, I can close my eyes and stick my arm out and drop my hand. It's going to land on a Smith & Wesson tactical combat revolver, 357 Magnum. I've done grabbed that pistol, pulled it out, and I've leaned the chair back and I've thumb cocked it, and I'm sitting here holding it, pointing straight at the ceiling. Because I'm thinking, well, if this thing goes to jumping, trying to come through the roof, I'm fixing to start making peepholes. The thing stands there and it gets quiet. And probably, I'll say, close to 60 seconds passes. Well, where this thing came in, from what'd be in front of me to my left, I'm sitting opposite now. The chair is facing this way. It came in from my left in front of me. This thing, when it leaves, it goes to my right. So it came in here and left this way, and it ran down the angle of the roof. It ran sideways, running down, and it jumped off the end wall. Well, now, look, there was a bunch of pine straw up on my roof, because pine straw and leaves. Well, I hear the thing jump off the roof, and it just gets quiet. And I'm still sitting here trying to let all this soak in about what's happened, that the dang thing has got on my roof and ran over the top and stopped over my head. Well, a few days had passed, and my buddy Troy Allen, he's like a brother to me and Coonbo both, and lives in Troy. They call him Georgia Tracker. He lives just out of Macon, Georgia. But Troy came up to see me, and I'm telling him about what happened. I'd done told him on the phone. A week or so he comes up. He's like, so tell me where the thing was at. And I told him what happened. I'm sitting in the chair and I'm pointing and telling him. Well, at this time, my leg had been broke and I was in a cast from my hip all the way to my ankle. Couldn't walk. I was on crutches or even in a wheelchair. Well, he said, well, I'm going to go out here and look. So he goes around and gets around where he can get up on the roof and look. Well, he looks out there and he comes back around and gets up where he can see on the roof on this side. Then he comes back in. I'm sitting in here in the recliner by myself. He comes in, he's like, well, that OSOB was on your roof. I said, what? He said, it went up by this big tree back here that's close to the porch. He said, I can see on that pine straw. Said, you can see its footprints going up. Said it went up and over the roof. Said, I went around to this side. You can see where it come down in that pine straw. And he said, right over your chair. He said, there's a spot about this big. It's just all mashed down where it was standing. And he said, then I can see where it turned and ran that way. He said, so I went down there where the footprints went off the edge, and down there on the end on the pine straw, he said he could see where it hit the ground. You know, like anybody's been out around pine trees a lot, if you take your foot and rake the leaves or the pine straw and slide it, it looks like you wrinkled up a rug. You know, it'll kind of wad it up and have a clean spot. He said there's a spot around there half as big as a car hood where that thing landed, and it just wrinkled all the pine straw up in one spot. I said, well, okay. But yeah, it's that, and Roger was over here, a day or so after. It never really creeped me out a whole lot because I'd had it so much, them beating on my house and hitting on the house. But a year or so back, they kind of upped the game. They got on the roof, and then they got to where they were jerking on my door. No, I didn't like that at all. They would grab my door, and you could hear them going, boom, 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 just jerking it. And that, you know, where I sleep most times, I got a big recliner, and when it's laid back, my head's about 4 feet from that door. Thus being, I sleep with a 357 and a right shotgun, like touching me. And, but they did that. I've had them knock on the window right beside the door. They come up there and bump the window like boom, 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 boom at night. Be 3 o'clock in the morning. They'll knock on the window. There was one guy all I can tell you, I was sitting in this chair, and I got a bedroom that's straight in front of my chair. There was one started pushing on the wall. That's what it sounded. It sounded like you had put a bulldozer against the wall and started pushing it. When I built this thing, I kind of overbuilt it because everything is decked with OSB lumber inside and out. It's 2x6 stud walls. I braced it up awesome. The wall.
I bet you're glad you overbuilt it.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, I was sitting in that chair and I felt something bump the house. I mean, it shook the whole house.
Wow.
But it didn't just hit it like I usually do. This thing, I start hearing it's like the foundation is creaking. I start hearing the wall, like the OSB on the walls is snapping and creaking. I can hear it like you're putting this massive amount of pressure on the front wall, and the end wall is creaking and popping, and you're hearing lumber like it's kind of giving up. Well, that goes on for 20, 30 seconds. And then finally it just lets off, and when it lets off, you kind of hear it like relax. And I'm like, what in the world is this thing doing? Well, I ease up, look outside, don't see nothing, yada, yada, yada. Well, then I go look out the other door, and then it wound up. I had some more encounter that night. But here's the thing. I don't remember if it was Troy or Coon or Roger. Somebody come a few days later, and was it you? We found the muddy partial handprint on the side wall about 8.5 foot off the ground.
Well, no, when I came up after something pulled on the door quietly, and Doug, I showed up the next morning, and we were talking about it. And you remember those horrible pictures I showed you, that glass door with the hair prints?
Yep.
You know, that was that morning, and I was shocked to find it looked like it reached across the rail, and there was tufts of hair. It had greasy tufts, obviously hair, hanging off, looked like a forearm, and that Alabama dust had went on that, and it stood out like a sore thumb.
Wow. And
that's where I found that hair was on that deck, the clear, the black and then clear, possibly a leg hair, a thigh hair maybe. But the thing is, I'm standing there looking at the rail on the ground, and it's right here. So whatever it was tall enough that rail hit them under here, and they had a long enough arm, which had to be about that much longer than our arm, to grab that door handle. But all the evidence lined up. And I'm gonna tell you this: if we're there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and we're gonna leave, my son's in chat now, he's been there several times, we step out the door and we have the lights on, and I say, hey, we're going to the truck, don't throw anything at us, please, we're leaving. They stole a bag of he had some food that went bad, set the bag out on the porch with another bag of trash. And what it was like, it was really heavy. He was telling me. And within 15 or 20 minutes, they got this really horrible smell got inside the cabin, stepped outside, and your brother or brother-in-law said, "Where did that bag go that I just put out here?"
No, it was Alan. Alan said that.
Walked off with it. So anyway, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Do you guys ever feel or fight back fear? I mean, just not knowing what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
What'll put the fear in you, Doug, is when you're in the woods by yourself and you're a couple of 100 yards away from your vehicle to get out.
Yeah.
And you have one of them come in and get itself worked up into a temper tantrum, and it's between you and your vehicle, and that's the only way to leave.
Yeah.
And then the thing, or they come in and they bluff charge you. They start throwing stuff at you. They start screaming to the point that I've had these things scream at me, and the volume and the tone would hit a certain spot that it wasn't just the point that it was hurting my ears. It would make my vision blur. It's like it would start out a real super deep tone, and as it ramped up, got higher and higher and higher. I mean, it started off like a bull bellowing, and then it went into like a lion roar, then into a man screaming, then into a woman screaming, and like a coyote howl. And at the end, it would stop so abrupt. It was almost like a whip crack at the end. I mean, I tell people I don't know how to really explain it, but it was like a pop. It would just wow at the end. And as that thing was ramping up. Now, I mean, from the time it started, it was horribly loud. But as it kept ramping up, I mean, I'm wanting to hold my ears and close my eyes, but I'm sitting here holding this Browning semi-automatic rifle because I'm hiding behind a tree going, oh my God, I'm about to die. And I'm trying to plug my ear, with my shoulder. And it's like rattling my jawbone. It's like my clothes should be fluttering. It's so loud. And it was like you're looking through a set of binoculars and you've got them tuned in and you can see real clear. And then if you rolled them like a half a roll and it blurred the thing, and then you straightened it back up and it came clear again. That's the way my eyeballs work. When that thing would hit a certain part of that note as it kept ascending in tone, my vision would like go blurry, and then it would focus back. And man, I tell people it was the volume that there's no way an actual physical living creature should be able to make a sound that loud. I mean, I've told people.
Well, infrasound, Greg, will blur your vision. That I do know.
Yeah. I've been hit. I don't know that I've been hit by infrasound, but Coonbo and I have talked about it. He was with me one night. It was me and Troy Allen, Cheryl Corntassel. There was about 7 or 8 of us, but there was 5 out of the group that we experienced a ultrasound, not an infrasound, but a super high-pitched ultrasound.
Yeah.
Now, that was a directional sound, but that's been 6, 7, 8 years ago, and I had it happen to me. That's the only time I'd had it happen until about a month ago. And I got hit twice in 2 days right here at my cabin. I went outside, I got hit with it, and the next night I was on the phone with my buddy Troy, and I walked out to my truck to get something, and it hit me again. So it hit me twice within 2 days, just a month or so back.
Are you armed, Greg, when you go out to your car at night, in the middle of the night?
Dude, I don't. If I had to walk out to my truck right now and get a cold drink or a piece of paper, or if I left my phone,
right,
I'm going to catch this tactical 686 combat revolver, and I'm going to have it in my hand before I go out. And I'm talking. Roger can tell you, from this door is 16 foot to where my truck's parked down a wheelchair ramp. I will not go outside unless I'm armed. Ain't happening. Nope.
It's a scary walk. Very short. When I pull in during the day, I make sure to turn my truck the safest walk. Where I pick me a parking spot. I don't want a door next to the woods. And look, they've thrown fits. My son we've experienced that here. Greg was valuable in that encounter because so much happened, and I'm like, look, it was mumbling and pacing in a circle, but it was also throwing 20 or 30-pound rocks and picking up logs off the ground and breaking them against trees, and we could hear the top break and helicopter and go through the limbs. And I'm asking him when we first met, I'm like, have you ever heard one you could hear it walking in a circle? He said, oh yeah, they're getting worked up, and so it helped me, and maybe it helped him a little to have somebody to talk about these. And Greg and I have a lot in common. Our memories, we're pretty good at noticing detail, and we can replay it back. So we're built the same that way.
Yeah. I've been very impressed with Greg, your memory and your details. But I'm just thinking about living there. How do you sleep at night?
I don't sleep very much. I really don't.
That's what Roger was saying. He said Greg doesn't sleep that much.
Yeah, he's like you, Doug. He's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, you up? Yeah.
I know. I don't know what it is. Although I'm not worried about a Bigfoot attack in the middle of the night, where I would imagine with you at any point there could be a slam on your wall.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have you noticed though? Boy, my mic is so bad. I guarantee everybody I will have a brand new mic. This one I think is defective. What was I going to say? Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and just listen? Like, are they out there? How paranoid are you of, something happening? And do you worry about them breaking a window or breaking your door down? Does that ever cross your mind?
Roger, tell them what's in my bathroom.
You can turn around. He's got protection everywhere.
So that's good. Yeah.
But the thing is too, and people hear that and they're like, oh, you're wanting to hurt. No. It's for protection only. And the encounters he has gotten so intense where it was kind of a standoff. And, he tells a story where he accidentally made peace. It was him and 2 other guys, and they got bluff charged right at dark. And he didn't know what to do. It was about almost time to pull the trigger, and he didn't want to do it because Coonbo tells us, don't ever do that. You won't make it burger. That's a last resort. So he lets out, he didn't know what to do. He lets out a loud whoop, and the thing stopped, and it sounded disappointed. It started grumbling and walked off, and so I feel like Doug, talking to him all these years, and some of the group feel the same way. He made contact with these things, and then he was in a new place to hunt. It was their territory. They tried to run him out. He didn't go anywhere. So Doug, he's had deer. He's harvested a deer, go to the truck and come back, and the deer be gone, and come back the next day, and half of it ripped in half and thrown out into the field.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
And Greg, I want to make something clear. You're not a researcher, correct? You don't do research.
I don't call myself a researcher. Now, I'm in the thick of it.
Right.
And, you're
a homeowner. You're a homeowner. You own this property.
Well, where I hunt, where I live, they're here. It's just, I have people all the time, and I try to explain it to them, and I know they look at me like I'm crazy because I tell them, look, my approach to it is I'm going to pretend that I'm not paying them any attention, because what I'm doing is not making them mad anymore. We kind of accidentally made peace with them, and they're not like my BFF. We're not big buddies, but it's kind of like I feel like it's a mutual respect of they know I know about them, and I don't provoke them. I don't try to trick them. I've put up game cameras before, and you'll never get anything. I don't mess with it. I don't try to record with a recorder. I don't put up cameras. I don't do anything. I let them give me the encounters they want me to have. And people's like, well, if I was you, I'd do this, or I'd do that, or I'd do that. Look, and you probably wouldn't have an encounter. So I guess probably part of it too, Doug, is that I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. The only reason that I started coming out and doing the podcast and talking was I had dedicated so much of my life to helping others through the rescue squad, the fire department, the law enforcement, just volunteering in all kind of activities and fundraisers.
Right.
And I realized that I had a very special, a very special chance to help people.
Yeah.
Because I knew there were people out there struggling with dealing with this just like I was.
Well, there's a ton of homeowners. There's a ton of homeowners out there that are like yourself.
Yeah. And that's why I started talking to people. And like I said, I'm not out here trying to convince anybody or get them to believe me. All I want them to do is have an open mind.
Yeah.
Don't try. Look, if you want to ridicule, that's fine. But if you hadn't saw what I have or these other people have, and if you're not willing to go over here in the deep, dark woods that you're not afraid of and see what I've seen and have it run up, and when that thing steps out on you, that's what scrambles your brain. Because there you are, this thing is not supposed to exist. You've convinced yourself it don't exist. And when it's standing there looking at you, and you're looking at basically a Brahma bull that's walking around on two legs and, 1,000, 12, 1,600 pounds of meat, blood, and bone, and it can move like Superman, like an Olympic sprinter can't touch it.
How do you think they're getting on your? How are they getting on your roof? Are they just leaping up there?
I think probably the one that got on the roof was probably the one that Misty, that does WoodWalkerz and Night Owl podcast with me. Her aunts, Misty, her two aunts, her uncle, and then her sister, her brother-in-law, they came down here and stayed with me, and we had a ball about 2 years ago. They found tracks, Doug, 75 yards from my porch, from where I'm sitting, 75 yards right here. And it's where we've heard them. We've had a lot of encounters. We've seen the eye shine. But they found 3 different size tracks. One of them was like 6 or 7 inches. One was like 14, and the other one was a little over 18 inches. So it was at least a 3-person family group here that stays here pretty much all the time. Then Coonbo, he saw the same tracks. He saw them a couple of different times. But Coonbo was over here. We did one of our podcasts one night, and he came down here and hung out with me. And we done it because I've got great Wi-Fi. Well, it's only an hour and 5 minutes from here to his farm. So he come down, we ate supper, yada, yada, done the podcast. He got ready to leave. I walk out on the porch. He gets in his truck. He backs up. And as he backs up and stops to cut his wheel to the left to turn and go down my driveway, I step in, shut the door. About 45 seconds later, my phone's ringing. It's Coonbo. And I'm thinking he's forgot something. I said, "What's up?" He goes, "You ain't gonna believe what I just saw." I was like, "What?" He said, "There was a dadgum juvenile booger walked across your driveway like 75 feet from your porch. And when he turned to go down the driveway and I shut the door, the thing walked across my driveway right in front of his pickup in the headlights and went through and went in the woods and left." That's like the third or so that he saw here at my place. He's Coonbo's seen several here, had a bunch of encounters, heard them, smelled them, seen them. I've had a bunch of researchers come here. But all that said, I'm not trying to convince people that they're real. The evidence is already there. There's enough evidence. You could take a third of the evidence that proves that Bigfoot's real, and you could convict somebody of capital murder. A jury, you could hang them. You got DNA, you got hair samples, you got the tracks, you got all the physical evidence, you got the eyewitness testimony, you've got all this stuff going on. It would take far less to convict somebody and lock them away for capital murder. So I don't understand.
Y'all, we could have a 12-hour conversation because as he's telling these stories, I've been there and we found physical evidence. We've hit the smells, hit us, the sounds and all, and it's just it's an amazing.
What do you guys think the smell is? I call it putrescine. It's like a chemical that stinks like dead bodies. Is that what it smells like to you guys?
Well, what hit us, Peyton and I, my son, just a couple months ago, we went down and everything was fine. We couldn't find any tracks. The river was down, and all of a sudden we got hit with a smell, and it's almost smelled like a burning rubber plastic. And then we heard
reported in gorillas, and the stink gorillas put out is burning rubber.
Yeah, and we were looking around like there's something on fire, and then Peyton, that almost smells like a burning, like, trying to think to how to describe it, a burning pool float, brand new float you get out of the box, and then we heard a vocalization up the river, and it was small and raspy, and this is speculation, but the wind was coming right at us. After that vocalization got across to the other side, the smell faded away. So I do know the gorillas can emit in a stressful situation or whatever. We called Coonbo on the way home and talked to him about it and asked him if he'd ever, encountered that. Then I went and started researching on the internet, and there's been that smell reported all over the place. And I don't know what it was. We can't say, I think it was the mama Bigfoot and the little one, but it kind of lines up. It was possible that that's what it was. Because we went down and we were walking. Nobody ever goes down there. You don't see tracks. And Greg found some tracks, Doug, one time that kind of made me think. He was saying that in that sandy, silty stuff, there was a little island out there, and he was hunting and coming up, and he saw some Bigfoot tracks. But when it went up the hill, you don't understand this stuff. It's hard to get footing. You have to dig in if you're going up the hill and walk sideways. But he said the tracks the flexible foot, he said he believes they flexed the other way too because of the way it was dug in when it started up the hill. And this material, you don't want to walk up in cowboy boots. My son, there's a few people that's, hit the ground down there. Yeah. But we even checked the water with the smell. The water was clean and running. We were wondering if it might be nasty water, but it was all running. It was all fine. It was clear. We saw where something had dragged something across, and we could see tracks in the water. It was probably about 2.5 feet maybe. And we could see where something dragged something. And then when it went into the water, it looked like it was shuffling his feet. So who knows? I mean, Peyton's got he's got a LiDAR capture of one of the prints. That was when he was first learning how to use it. I'll send that to you later and let you look at it. I'll get it from him. But the evidence, the sounds, the smells, it's just a active area. He just happens to live in the area that's.
Well, let's talk about why do you think it's active? Is there obviously it's from one of Greg's stories? There's a stream nearby or a creek.
Yeah.
So you have water. Are there any ponds or springs on the property?
Well,
go ahead.
There's Alabama. Is the land of 1,000 rivers, and we've got great water all over the state, and these things are definitely. I mean, one thing for me, I'm 100% believer that a big part of their diet is fish. I think they eat all kind of like crayfish. They eat regular fish. I mean, there's all kind of things that they could harvest. Mussel shells. They could harvest, a lot of things out of the water. Plus, they got water, and even like here, like what I was talking about earlier, like even when they clear cut a piece of property, it's against the law for them to cut on a slope because of the erosion and it polluting everything. So that usually leaves you a good bit of foliage along the riverways. Well, that gives them somewhere to travel. It's a travel corridor. They can stay hid. There's just a travel corridor. I mean, that's the same with like a lot of the power lines. Power lines are notorious for a main travel corridor for these things.
Do you have any power lines by your property?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got some lines here, but I don't have any like the big major lines here.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of evidence along power lines. We have.
And also if you walk off his back porch and go down and cross the river, you have tens of thousands of acres that is almost never visited by humans. So it's the perfect spot. I mean, it's wild. I don't know what to say about it. I just know that we've experienced some things. We found evidence. We had something, Doug, like this. We were sitting outside one night. It was raining. And Greg don't do that. Greg don't sit out there. He doesn't look for these things. And we have rules. We can't do whoops, tree knocks, no screaming and hollering. He said, I don't want you making them mad and then leaving me here with them. I'm like, okay. So we're sitting out there. I will not sit on the back porch at night with the light off, but I'll sit there with the light on, but I'm next to the door. Well, my son sees something over the river, which had to be about how many feet?
It'd be at least 150 feet off the ground.
Yeah. So it was eye level with us. He sees this kind of a yellow spark flash of energy. And he's like, what is that? Over 3 hours, it was seen 7 times. He saw it 5 times. I finally saw it and Greg finally saw it. And it never was in the same spot. It went from this side, 150 foot over the river to the hardwood tree line. And it looked like a little burst of energy, like you were trying to strike a lighter under a t-shirt or something. And I said, Greg, you ever seen anything like that? He said, I don't sit out there and look for this weird stuff. He said, y'all are the ones that want to do that. So, but he said that was the first, I don't want to call it paranormal. I feel like I talked to his buddy Troy that comes over all the time. And, you know, that river that runs directly behind him, there's also a creek that runs into it. And Troy says there's a pretty good waterfall back there. And he's talking about the positive, negative ions and all that stuff. But it's also littered with Native American graves, artifacts, you name it, it's there. So it's just a weird place. It's a cool place. I like it.
Well, I always feel the water's extremely important. I mean, what else can you tell us about your property without giving away its location? Is there any do you have like yard ornaments out? Do you have a long driveway? I mean, is there anything you can
I mean, that's the thing about it. I mean, like I said, my brother, I've got another place that's 100 yards from here. It's a mobile home on the river, and my brother had a big home that him and my sister-in-law sold, and they're going to build him a new house. So I told him, I said, look, sell your house while the market's bringing, the houses are bringing big money. Sell it now. He said, well, we don't have anywhere to stay. I said, I got a mobile home on the river that's sitting empty. If y'all don't care to live in it, live in it. He's like, well, I mean, we'll have to pay rent. I said, I didn't say anything about rent. So they've been there, last September was 4 years. And they, you know, it don't cost them anything, but it keeps somebody in that house. It keeps it from running down. I'm like, you pay the utilities, you know, just stay there. It's better than it's sitting empty. If something breaks, you fix it. But my brother, they don't harass them. I've got one next door neighbor right here, and they don't mess with them, but they come up here and they mess with me. And I still believe it's because that from me dealing with them a mile through the woods or a mile and a quarter through the woods, all these times and all these years, they knew what I looked like. They knew what my truck looked like. They knew what it sounded like. They would go by and say, hey, that's the dude that comes on our place. We're going to let him know that we know where he lives. And I think a lot of it is that they come up and they hit the house. Well, to them, just bumping it, to us, is like hitting it with a sledgehammer. Because look, the things that I've seen, you couldn't build a door. You couldn't build a door to hold one. A normal house. I mean, now look, they're not going to fit the adults. They can't get through a door. There's not a door on this place that they could get through. I mean, they may lay down and squeeze sideways and come through it, but it's still going to be tight. Doug, the last one that I saw, like I said, was here in my yard, and it was standing against the wood line, and I was seeing the side profile, and that thing was so black it wasn't like it was the light was reflecting off of it. It was like it was absorbing the light. It was like a void. Instead of it standing out, it was more like a void, the outline. I was seeing the side profile. And when it dawned on me what I was looking at, I mean, I've got a Ram 1500 pickup and the headlights were on bright and I'm within 50, 60 feet of it. The headlights are pointed straight at it. And that thing just kind of, I mean, I'm seeing the side and it kind of just like turned just a little. And when it turned a little, that thing took off. And I'm talking about like it was gone. And I watched it go about probably 25, 30 feet. And where my cabin, I'm looking at my cabin. It's standing out here. Well, it ran behind my cabin from where I'm at. And it ran within 6 or 8 feet of the corner post that's holding the roof of my cabin up. It's a big 6x6 treated post holding it up. And by where I'm looking at the thing where its head was at, close to that, the rain edge of the metal roof, this thing was over 9 feet. When it went by that, it was over 9 feet tall.
It's about the size of the grizzly bear that we had on earlier.
And I'm really sure that that's probably the one that's leaving the 18-inch tracks.
Have you ever had, we talked about the cabin slaps. Have you ever had multiple, like a bang on this side and a bang on this side, or one on the roof, like multiple areas, or has it always been one individual doing it?
I don't ever remember having multiple. Now I've had multiples outside because I could hear one on the porch and I could hear one out here, but they weren't banging on the cabin.
Only one of them who's got the bravery to come up to the cabin. Yeah. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Does this ring familiar that when they do the big bang, like on your house, isn't that normally the grand finale they leave then?
Well, sometimes they'll hit and then you won't hear anything else. Sometimes they'll bang. They may hit the end wall. And like I said, I've had them hit the end wall and then 20, 30 minutes later, they'll be on the back porch. Doug, not long ago, I had one, it come up here and it was messing with the front porch and it went around the cabin and I thought it was gone. I thought, well, it's done this, it's left, yada, yada, yada. Well, here in just a few minutes, I'm still sitting in a recliner. The thing had went around the cabin and the thing came up on the back porch. Me and Roger could both get on my treated steps, and they're built really, really good. He and I together could walk up these steps, and they don't creak, they don't snap, they don't pop. You can walk on the back deck back here of the covered porch is 2x12s, treated 2x12 for floor joists. It's built strong. I mean, we've had like 22 people on this deck at one time. It's not swaying, it's not wiggling, it's braced up great. I've had these things come on my porch and I can sit in my chair and I can hear the lumber on that deck creaking and popping and snapping. I heard this thing walk up. I had went by like an estate sale and I had bought a stack of cast iron skillets. I bought like 7 or 8 and I had them back there and I had bought a bunch of stainless steel mixing bowls because I do a lot of cooking. Well, I had all this stuff. I got a big treated picnic table. It's like 12 foot long. And they were sitting on the picnic table. I'm sitting in my chair. And after all this, and I'm hearing the thing come up on the steps, there's like 4 steps. And I can hear it coming across. And I can hear the porch snapping and cracking. This thing's weight. I hear it pick up, or well, I should say set down. It had picked up a cast iron skillet. And it set it back down. And then I heard another one pick up and set back down. And then a few seconds, I heard another one. It was like it picked up every skillet and set them back down. And then I hear that stack of like 5 or 6 stainless mixing bowls that were sitting inside each other. They're jingling and rattling like it's looking at them. And then I hear it clong. It sets it back down. It goes across the porch. I can hear it picking up, moving items. Then the thing walks back across the porch. There it go down the steps and I hear it leave. But they're nosy, they're inquisitive. They'll check stuff out. They're looking for something that they can grab, eat, whatever.
Greg, who was on the back porch that night when the big rock came in out of the woods and hit beside y'all's heads?
Okay, that was Misty. Misty was there. Caitlin, Misty's sister. Hunter, Misty's mother-in-law, Caitlin's husband, Sherry and Donna and myself. We're sitting on my back porch, and that's what I told this bunch. I said, look, y'all, we're not going to do anything to provoke them. Now, I told them, I said, if you want to put out an audio recorder, put one on the front porch, one on the back porch, just put them out. We'll let them play. We're going to go out on the back porch. We'll cook a big supper. We'll get out there. We're camping. We're staying a retreat weekend at my man cave, which they actually stay a week. I said, what we want to do is go out here. We're going to talk. We're going to laugh. We're going to cut up. We're going to just be us and have fun. We're not worried about boogers. All we're going to do is be ourselves, and odds are we're going to have an encounter. Well, they stayed here for a full week. Pretty much every night we were there, we had some form of encounter, be it was screams and howls, sound like a quarter of a mile away, stuff across the creek, completely up to that. We had other people that showed up while they were here. Coonbo came by, Mark and Rebecca Green had came. We had several people showed up, but here's the thing. We had these things come right up that me and Misty and Coonbo walked out to the vehicles. Coonbo was fixing to leave, and we see eye shine from about 25 feet, which it was dark, but we see a dark silhouette upright whirl and run, and you can hear it crashing down through the woods. Now, it was a visual, but it wasn't a great one. We couldn't see detail, but this thing had big orangey red glowing eyes, and it's way taller, 8 foot high to the eyes. But now we were on my porch, and Hunter, which is Misty's brother-in-law, he was sitting up on the handrail, had his feet on the bench part of the picnic table, and we were playing board games. We were playing Jenga, we were playing different things, and had a blast. We were laughing and cutting up and carrying on. Well, I've got my porch, and then I've got a big fire pit, and then I've got a Connex building for a storage container. We start hearing, some of them said, y'all, you hear that? I'm like, look, just don't look. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep playing Jenga. Keep talking. Look, here and there, y'all take turns. Just kind of, like you're looking at, like I'm looking at y'all now. If you're watching the game, just kind of turn your head and get you a glance and come back. Don't turn and stare. And don't, if it makes a racket, just kind of ignore it. Just don't everybody whirl and look. Well, we keep ignoring it. And, we're hearing it break limbs. We're hearing it crunch leaves. Well, this thing comes up alongside my Connex building, and we're seeing these red or orangey red eyes, and everybody's like, look, I'm seeing eyes out of my peripheral, and they're blinking, and like yada yada. Well, then it goes away, and it goes around the back side of that Connex, and there's an old log road that comes along the side of my property. It goes down that log road. Well, this thing's less than 20 yards from us. It's just right here, but it's dark. All we had was the porch lights under the roof, and it just lights up just a little bit out in the yard, kind of a buffer, maybe 15, 20 feet from the cabin. Well, that thing goes down, and you hear it breaking limbs. It gets over there, and everybody, we're trying to focus, and we're trying to keep everybody focused on the game we're playing, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's right there! Y'all, it's right here!" Like, yeah, just keep playing the game, keep playing the game. Well, about that time, you hear leaves ripping and like something clipping limbs, like little twigs, and there's a rock about this big comes out of the darkness, streaks into the light out from under the porch. And where Hunter was sitting on that porch railing, that rock goes about that far right behind his back and goes from his left to his right and streaks behind him. We're all seeing this rock because we could hear it coming. Everybody whirls and looks, and this thing's arcing. It's not like falling. It's going like this. It comes past him, and it hits the ground in my yard, and you see it go. It looks like somebody's hit a golf ball. It's going doom, doom, doom. It bounces down through the woods on the other side of my other side of my yard. And everybody's like, "Oh my God, it just threw a rock." I said, "Well, be still and just ignore it, and it may throw another one." But look, they would come up and do stuff like that while Misty and them were here. They had some really great audio. I mean, we had several of them screaming over that week. And Misty's been here. And y'all, she pulled up one day. They were going to come and stay. Misty pulls up in her Jeep, gets out. I go outside to give her a big hug and tell her to, help her get her stuff in. She was not outside over 60 seconds. And about 70, 75 yards from where she parked, it sounded like we were at the Birmingham Zoo in Birmingham, Alabama, and the primate exhibit, and we were handing out Twinkies to the primates. It was I'm talking about a absolute roar. It sounded just like primates squealing and carrying on and cackling. It's the craziest thing. And, I've heard them do that a few times, but this was broad daylight. I mean, broad daylight. It's like they knew she was here. And every time she's come here, I don't know what it is about her, but these things absolutely know when she's here. She has yet to come here and not have some form of encounter, and most of it's been really good encounters.
Do you ever think that you're maybe addicted to the dopamine? In other words, I know you're not a researcher, but it is thrilling. It's scary, but it can be thrilling when there's activity. And I would imagine you're getting dopamine hits every time there's a rock throw or a scream.
It's
I mean,
well, I'll tell you,
you know what I mean?
It took me a long time to come to grips that I had some form of or some level of PTSD from these things.
Yeah.
But I've been shot at. I've been in all kind of hairy situations. And I've seen a lot of horrible, terrible things doing the law enforcement, the fire department, and the rescue squad stuff. We've worked hundreds and hundreds of wrecks, and we're a small county, and we have to help. Part of our job is we help out the coroner's office. I've witnessed things that people are not supposed to see, and it's been bad, and I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. But I've had things happen to me in these woods dealing with these things that it's leaps and bounds above anything I've ever seen anywhere else. When I thought I was going to die, that one that got really mad that night or that evening, and it was mad because there was a motorcycle up on the highway revving the throttle up, and it ticked it off. And this thing worked itself up in a frenzy. And that was the one when it would do I call it the double roar. Do
you want to get a little more detailed with that story? By the way, I know my mic is broken. I'll have a brand new, really nice mic next time, so I'm well aware of it.
Well, that one, I know there's a bunch of people wanting me to tell this. They've been on me for 2 or 3 months, wanting me to tell it. My buddy Alan and I, we hunted a lot together. I mean, he was like an added big brother from the time I was, 12, 13 years old at least. And we hunted, fished, we done everything. We hung out together, and he was just like an extra big brother. Now he was about 5.5 years older than me, and he didn't have a brother to hang out with. He had a sister he couldn't get along with, so he would help my mom and dad on their farm when he was a kid, and then that put me and him together a lot. And by the time he got his driver's license, he could carry me all over the place, and he could drive. We could go fish all these foreign ponds and go hunting and stuff. So we just had a bond. I mean, he was absolutely closer than blood family. But Alan had went through a lot of this stuff with me. I mean, he had been there. He had heard the screams. He had heard the howls, the yells, and it took him up till about 2 years ago before he actually finally saw one. But Alan was with me this day that I'm going to tell you about. And we weren't seeing many deer, and I had put it together because there was a big acorn crop that year that the deer wasn't really using the green fields that much. They were skirting around the property into the hardwoods, and they were eating acorns. So I told him, I said, look, if you want to go to that upper field, go in there. I'm going to park the truck at the gate, and I'm going to walk back up the government road. And I didn't have to go 100 yards, and you could turn, and you go in. Basically, it was no wagon road because it was a little narrow ruts, and they were real deep and real skinny. And out this road, there was an old house place. There was an old dug well that had caved in, and there was some big old oak trees that was, back in the 1800s, this was a house place. Yeah. I said, look, I'm going to go out there at the end of that ridge or out where the hardwoods and the pines meet. And I'm going to go out there where I can watch that holler. Now, look, this is the exact same place that I told you about earlier, where the one jumped up out of the leaf pile and the sticks. Same exact spot. I told him, I said, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to clear me out a spot. I'm going to sit on the ground. I'm going to watch down this ridge. I can see nearly to the lake or to the river. I can, with my Browning rifle, I can control about 200 yards, you know, in like 180-degree area. And the rest of it, I can shoot 50, 60 yards. Well, Alan is going to be, from where I'm sitting, Alan is going to be over my left shoulder. And, you know, I'm sitting facing this way. Alan's back there. No, excuse me, Alan's over my right shoulder. The left shoulder is down in the hole because all I got to do is pull up and shoot down. Alan's kind of over here. Well, he's across this cutover about 200 yards. Well, I'm sitting there. I hadn't saw anything, and this was, you know, probably an hour before dark, I guess. It's you know, it's not long. It's going to start getting dark, and it gets darker in the woods before it gets dark out in the open field. Well, I'm sitting there, and it's been super quiet. I mean, quiet. The wind wasn't blowing. I'm sitting there, and I had walked in, and I came through that old log road, and when I'm walking in, to the right side is my cousin's cutover. So you got all this cutover jungle, and I'm walking through big, giant pine. I'm talking about pine trees that take two and a half people to reach around. I'm walking through it so I can go really, really quietly because it's just basically all pine straw. And I get in there and I come out in this hardwood and I take 1 or 2 steps real slow and I would look and I inch my way on out and get out there where I can see down this hill. So if any of these deer come down this hollow, I'm going to get a shot on it if it's something I want to shoot. I clear out a spot about the size of a Toyota truck hood. You know, we're talking about a 4 foot by 3 foot or, 4 by 4. I take my boot and right down to the bare dirt, and I just, pile up all the pine straw and the leaves so I can sit on this and I'm not going to make any noise. So I sit down by this big, enormous pine tree that happens to be out in the hardwoods. Well, I'm sitting there flat out on the ground, got my rifle laying across my lap, and I'm just sitting there. Well, I've sat there and I hadn't saw anything. I've been there a couple of hours or more. Well, back up behind me, up on the highway, the paved road, because this comes down these big canyons with the river, I hear a motorcycle, and it's not like what I label a crotch rocket. This is like and it wasn't really a Harley. I'll say it was more like a big Yamaha, like a big V-twin or something. And this thing sounds like it doesn't have any muffler on it whatsoever. And it's like this guy, in my head, this guy is having trouble with it because I've owned a lot of all kind of ATVs, motorcycles, everything else. I'm thinking, well, this dude's having trouble. It sounds like it's probably flooding. The carburetor's messed up, and he's probably tweaking it because I can hear him like he's twisting the throttle, and this thing would rev up. It'd go, whoa-ma, whoa-ma, whoa-ma. Well, he revs it up 3 times, just like what I just did. And when he let off of that thing, right over behind me toward where he's at. Now, the way I'm sitting, it's about 100 feet to the wood line. Maybe not quite that far. That's where the hardwoods turn into these big giant pines. And these pines have done got so big at this time, we're talking about it's 50 foot to the first limb. So it's got to open up enough that there's a lot of underbrush that's come up under it. It's dogwoods and honeysuckles and all these vines and saplings. So it's thick. Right over my shoulder, it couldn't have been over 20 feet into the thick part. There is the most god-awful sound that I've ever heard in my life. That thing started out, and that's what I was talking about earlier. It was a bella, roar, scream, howl. That thing started off like a bull. Anybody's ever been on a farm, if it's cold weather and the cows are hungry and you got a bull out there and you take out a roll of hay, you'll see an old bull, it'll stretch its neck out and it'll bellow. Just woo. It started out like that. And then it went into like a lion roaring. and then that ramped up into a big burly guy screaming or yelling. Then it went into a woman screaming. Then it went into like a coyote or a wolf howl. And at the very end of it, it would almost crack like a whip, just a snap at the end. That thing did that, and you could have probably cut my throat. I wouldn't have bled a drop because all my blood ran down to my toes. And I mean, I went from, oh my God, to full-blown panic. That thing is right here. It's not way up. It's right here. And I'm to the point, oh my God, because it's on the other side of this tree. I've got this big pine that I'm sitting against, and I'm hoping and praying, oh my God, I hope this thing don't see me. Well, in the state of Alabama, if it's gun season and you're deer hunting, you've got blaze orange on. And as quick as I could, I grabbed my orange and jerked it off and shoved it down in it's either my jacket or I can't remember if it was jacket or my bibs. But anyway, I stuffed my orange where it couldn't be seen. I'm hiding like the fight or flight's kicked in, and I'm going, oh my God, the only way that I can leave or take flight, I've got to go the direction this thing is. That's my only way out. The only other way, I'm going to have to try to traverse, a quarter of a mile this way, go off the mountain to the river, go up the river, probably an eighth of a mile, and then come right back up through the only road that comes into this cutover. So it's going to be well over a half a mile for me to make a loop to get back to my truck. This is not a good plan. If I can go back out this road where I need to go, it's 150 yards or so back to the road and then 100 yards down to my truck. So it's like 250 yards versus, over a half a mile. I don't have a way out. And I'm sitting here, my mind is absolutely sizzling because I don't know what to do. I'm panicked. But as quick as I can explode up to my feet, I am trying to stay, get skinny, stay behind this pine. And I'm leaning, I'm peeping out I'm looking to see if I can see where this thing is. I've got my rifle and I've got it pulled up like this, and I'm leaning out looking around this tree like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And this thing is working itself up into a frenzy. I'm talking about absolute. These things, for people that's never seen it or been up close to one when they're upset and being belligerent, it's like a little kid that throws a temper tantrum in a store because it's not getting its way. I mean, they might as well lay on the ground and kick and stomp and scream and act a fool, because these things will absolutely, they'll traipse back and forth, say 20 or 30 feet, or make tight circles. And it's like they're jerking tree limbs and they're jerking saplings up and breaking stuff. And just, it's like somebody, you see a video with a crackhead that's mad at the world and he's going through somebody's house, just destroying everything. That's what they do. It's like they'll psych themselves up, like just building just pure rage. And it's like, like a football game. You got a team that's doing horrible. Well, they get in the locker room at halftime. You got the coach and they're giving them a big pep talk, and they start building each other and they're feeding off that anger. And you come back out, ready to whoop butt and take names. These things don't have to have somebody to boost them up. They do it themselves. They will throw I'm talking about a full-blown atomic fit and boost herself up, just building up their courage that I'm the big dog. I'm going to whoop whatever. I'm going to eliminate it. And I listen to this thing boost itself up, and it is destroying everything around it. Well, it finally calms down a little bit, and I can hear the thing breathing. And I mean, it sounds like a racehorse is running a Kentucky Derby, and it's sucking in air like it's got lungs the size of 60-gallon drums, and it's wheezing, and they sound like they got asthma sometimes. And then it kind of quietens down. Well, I'm sitting here still in a full-blown panic of, oh my God, what do I do? And the motorcycle does the same thing again. Revs up the three times.
Nice.
And when that thing lets off that third time, it was like 3, 2, 1. And this goes on like what I done is horrible, because you could have sat there and got tired of counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. It's like it's not going to quit. I mean, oh my God, this thing is, when is it going to quit? And in all of this, it ramping up and all this big scream, my eardrums are like they're on fire. My vision, when he would hit a certain note, my vision is blurring. It would go just out of focus, and then it would come back, and I could see. And I'm trying to be, get small, get skinny, get small. And it hits me that this thing, the river's behind me now. I'm here, it's there. When these things, most of the time when I've had encounters with them, which at this point was a bunch of them, 90-something% of the time when they decide to leave, that you weren't worth messing with, or you wasn't going to fold and do what they wanted, they would leave. They would go toward the river when they left. That put the absolute fear in me of, oh no, I'm listening to this thing is destroying everything around it. This is a level of rage that you can't even imagine. It's annihilating everything where it's at. It is absolutely, I mean, it's like a steroid rage.
Well, how far from you is this creature, Greg?
Less than 120 feet.
Okay, and how far from the motorcycle?
Probably close to a mile.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's just echoing. The sound of this motorcycle is echoing down this hollow. And it just so happens when the motorcycle revved up, this thing was just nearly right on top of me. I don't believe this Bigfoot had a clue that I was there, because I was in a place that I didn't usually hunt. It had just hit me that day. I'm going to go around here. I wasn't hunting in one of the fields.
Yeah, so you're frozen. You're just frozen.
I am absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
My buddy, I had on a shirt with a pocket right here. I had a cell phone, a flip phone. I had it on vibrate. My pocket starts going zzz, zzz, zzz. Dude, I'm standing here. I'm holding this rifle, and I've got it fixed, and I'm scared to turn loose of it. I ease my hand under it, and I pull the phone out, and I ease it open, and I look. I'm looking at the phone, and it had the letter, had capital U, space, OK. I typed back, HELL, capital NO. Send.
Hell no.
All right. About 12, 15 seconds, I get back the reply, ON space WAY, on way. I thought, oh no, this thing is right there. And if Alan's going to get out of this stand, he's going to have to get himself and his rifle out of a 16-foot ladder stand. He's going to have to go 250 or 270 yards to the truck. Then he's going to have to come up this road 100 or so yards. Then he's going to have to come another 150 or so, or 175 into where I'm at to get to me. He's got to make this big loop. And I'm thinking, oh no, because if he comes in and that thing hears him coming, there's two outcomes that I'm figuring that's going to be horribly terrible. And that is, this thing's worked up, and if Al comes into it, he's going to look at Al as an absolute threat, and that's not going to be good, because Al's going to charge in on a irate, raging Bigfoot. Or if it does see Al and it hears Al coming, figures out that this is a human and he's armed, the bad part is I'm here, the Bigfoot's here, and Al's coming in over here, and he's going to come, and he's going to look. It's not working out good for me either way, because if Al spooks this thing and it retreats, it's going to go toward the river. Well, as soon as it comes out of these woods, or out of that thicket into these open hardwoods, I'm going to have to try to be invisible, because I'm going to be the first thing that this thing sees that's out of place. And I am so just terrified that this thing is going to take all that frustration, all that anger, and all that rage, and he's going to pinpoint it right on me. And this is going to be bad. You know, this is going to be, I've done made a choice that, okay, if this thing comes out right there, I'm not going to have a choice. I'm going to be forced to have to do what I don't want to do. And I'm going to take this 30-06, this semi-auto Browning 30-06, and I'm going to try to put 165 grain soft points in an eye socket. And if I run out or it runs dry, I'm going to reach under my arm, and that 6.86 combat revolver, I'm fixing to pull it and go to work with it as quick as I can because I'm not going to have time to reload this rifle. And in my head, I've got all these different forks in the road of, okay, if this happens, I need to do this. Well, if that happens, I need to do that. I've got 100 different scenarios trying to play them out in my head like a supercomputer going, oh, no, that ain't good. Oh, let's back up. Oh, no, that may work. And I've got all this stuff rolling around, and this is happening in fast forward and slow motion all at one time. And I'm trying to plot on what I'm going to do. Well, this motorcycle revs up again. And y'all, I've told this story a bunch of times, and I try to leave out part of.
By the way, I think it was Roger revving the motorcycle.
Dude, look, this
I wouldn't
thing,
be here right now.
I've shortened this story on purpose several times because it's hard for me to tell. But this thing, this booger, the motorcycle kept revving up. This thing kept screaming and yelling, and I'm in a full blown panic of I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure I may be about to die. I mean, this is not going to work well. I mean, my brain is like the supercomputer rolling, and it's going deceased, deceased, deceased. Then over here, maybe deceased, and there's not a good plan that's popping up where it's going, Victor. No, hell no. I'm, game over is what I'm getting. And, I don't even know what to do because I've never been in this situation. Like I said, I've been in some hairy stuff. I had a guy shoot right over me in a chief of police, Thanksgiving Eve, 3 years ago now. He shot over our head with AR-15 and cut tree limbs down within 4 foot over my head. That didn't affect me nowhere near what this booger did. But long story short, or long story long, I guess, this thing, the motorcycle revs up. It absolutely is still destroying the timber. I watch a dogwood tree. Now I can see probably the top 12 or 14 foot, but the base of this dogwood was a lot bigger than a 1 gallon paint can. Between it and a 5 gallon bucket, this dogwood is coming up out of these saplings, and the dogwood was one of the taller things on the underbrush. This thing had a hold of that dogwood, and I'm watching this dogwood tree. It jerks this way, and then it goes back this way, and then it goes toward me, and it goes away from me, and it's back and forth, and it starts going round and round. And I'm hearing the trunk of this tree snap and crack. It don't break it off, and it don't uproot it. But this thing, it's like it's got it. It'd be like a big guy grab a sapling big as a beer can, and you're just jerking it. Well, I'm watching this tree, dude. I couldn't take my Massey Ferguson tractor in a log chain or my 4-wheel drive pickup and a chain and jerk this tree. What I'm witnessing it do. And this thing is absolutely destroying. It's breaking limbs. It's stomping the ground, and it's huffing and it's growling and it's grunting, and it's just working itself up, and it's getting worse and worse. And then it would take a breather, and you could hear it breathing. And I'm thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? It gets quiet. And in my mind, I'm playing, okay, where's Al? Oh my God, I hope it don't get Al. And shit, if Al spooks it, it's going to come out in my lap. What am I going to do? And I've got all this stuff playing in my head. I mean, and my brain is sizzling. Well, it gets quiet for just a couple of minutes. And out of the blue, the motorcycle, one more time, 3 times, same thing. Whom. When this booger does the bellow, roar, scream, howl all over again, just like it'd been doing. Doug, that thing went from being 120 feet or so. It sounds like it's 400 or 500 yards toward the motorcycle. It's the same exact bellow, roar, scream, howl. This thing had left from right there, right on top of me, and it took off through them woods going to that motorcycle. I never heard it leave. It didn't make a sound. I didn't hear it run away. And I'm sitting here convincing myself, my God, it's going after that motorcycle. It is madder than hell, and it's fixing to go end that dude. And I'm saying, I got to get out of here. It's fixing to get dark. I'm not staying in here. I've got to go. And y'all, I've told people a bunch. It's like, I'm a 70s kid. I grew up watching Fred Flintstone when he'd get up on his tippy toes and go, that's the way I went across out of there. I mean, I went as silent and as swiftly as I could. I had that Browning rifle sucked up to my cheek. I had the safety flipped, and my finger being straight was the safety. I'm coming out tactical, watching, critiquing everything, and I'm moving. I come out that 150, 75 yards, and right before I hit the old log road, it's got big rocks in it. I hear something, and I start to pull around with my rifle like, oh, my God. And I never did bring my rifle up. I just turn toward it. And it was my buddy Al. He had made it and come by the truck and was fixing to be, he was like about 40 feet being to where I would have intersected that road. When I saw him, I flipped my safety back on and I let my rifle down a little bit. And he looks at me and he goes, WTF, but he didn't abbreviate. He said, that thing was in your lap. I said, yeah, yes, sir. It was right on top of me. He goes, oh my God. He said, that motorcycle pissed it off. I said, yeah, it didn't like it. No, I said, I don't know if it thought that motorcycle was something roaring. I don't know if it didn't understand what it was. I don't know if the noise, the pitch of the motorcycle revving was hurting its ears. I don't know if it took it as a challenge. I said, but my God, it was mad. He said, where was it at? So I go to tell him. I said, dude, it was right behind me over my left shoulder, just in the edge of the big timber in the big pines. I said, I just couldn't see it. I said, I could see the trees, the saplings breaking. I could see the dogwood jerking back and forth. I could hear it stomping. I said, it was throwing a fit. He said, oh, I know. He said, man, when it would do that roar, he said, how far is it from right there over to that stand? I said, well, I can show you on a map. I said, dude, it's about 200, 250 yards. He said, dude, when that thing was roaring, he said, I had my rifle laying there, and he said, I was covering my ears. He said, that far, it was hurting my eardrums. I said, dude, try it from 120 feet. I said, it blurred my vision. When it done that, it blurred my eyesight. Y'all, if I had been standing on a CSX railroad line, the train stopped and sitting there running, if I walked up to the locomotive and reached out and could put my finger in the train horn, and they pulled it down, wouldn't be as loud as what that was from 120 feet. I can't explain that to anybody, how anything can be that loud. I mean, it's like my clothes should have been just like fluttering in the wind from the volume. It was like it was slapping me and making my skin shake. But y'all, I got back. I told him, I said, Luke, we got to get the hell out of here. He's like, are you all right? I said, I don't know. I said, let's get to the truck. Well, we walked 100 or so yards to my truck, side by side, and we get there to my truck. He said, do you want me to drive? I said, no, I'll be all right. He said, no, I need to drive. I said, no, I'll be all right. I opened the door on my truck, and I stuck my rifle, put the barrel toward the floorboard, and laid the buttstock up on the seat. And y'all, all I can tell you is I had an adrenaline dump because I got so nauseated right then. I mean, it was like somebody had stuck a blender in my guts. And he's like, are you all right? He said, you're white as a piece of cotton. I said, man, I'm going to be sick. And I don't remember if I had the steering wheel or if I had the front of the seat, but I caught the door handle with my left hand and had the seat of the steering wheel with the other one. And I arched up and heaved and threw up. And I mean, I heaved like 3 different times. And it made me absolutely nauseated. And Alan, he's over there like, brother, are you all right? I said, man, look, just hand me something to wipe my mouth with. Got my mouth wiped up. I said, get in the damn truck. We've got to go. And he got in. He said, are you all right? I'll drive. I said, no. I said, I'm good now. I said, throwing up helped. I helped a lot. And then we're talking about it. And I said, he goes, oh, I hope that dude was gone with that motorcycle before that thing got up there where he's at. I said, you know what's going to be bad? I said, dude, all seriousness. I said, if he ain't, I said, we liable to get up here and there'd be a big Yamaha or a Honda motorcycle about 30 foot up in the tree over here, twisted up. And I said, there may be a dude in a tree over here 30, 40 feet from there. Or there may be a leg over there and a head over yonder. And I swear to you, the 1 mile or so driving out, we were waiting on, when we got there to the end of the road where we hit the pavement, that we were waiting, and if they had been a motorcycle there, like thrown up in a tree and some dude ripped limb from limb, it wouldn't have surprised me in the least. And because that thing was that irate. Now, I mean, it was, and I've tried to run that through my head. There's no telling how many times.
So,
I don't.
Did you ever get a hold of the guy that owned the motorcycle?
Have no idea, no clue who it could have been, because at the end of the road there's a pull off.
Okay.
Like if you could just pull off, you were having trouble or something. And I really believe it may have been somebody not even from here that got there and was having some engine trouble and pulled off and was revving it up, trying to work on it.
I would imagine it was a 4-stroke.
Yes.
Like a Honda or something like that. It wasn't a Harley.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a Harley, or it wasn't like a Ninja or a Hayabusa or like a big Harley or something. This was more of a, what do you call it, like a not even like a Gold Wing. I mean, this would have been like the big Yamaha 1150s or something like that.
But it was irritating. It must have been an irritation. I mean, there's no reason it would have got mad unless it was really hurting its ears. Maybe it was just an exact frequency that really hurt its ears. I've heard of them going after 4-wheelers with anger sometimes, like anger.
Doug, I've been in the woods here, and these things be around within a couple of 100 yards of me or closer. And there's a plane that'll fly over. There's a jet that'll come over real low. It says, basically, it's like USPS, like U.S. Postal Service. And this thing will fly over, and it's right through this. Here's a fly zone. It comes through all the time. I've been in the woods over here, and that thing fly through, and you get that engine wash. You hear it. Whoo! I've had it set these things off. They'd hear that engine. Dude, these things will scream, and it'll just echo down the canyons here when they scream. You have an ambulance or a police vehicle come through here and have the siren on. A lot of times it'll touch them off. They'll scream at the siren. A big truck there's a big hill down here. It crosses a bridge. Big truck come through these curves and have the jake brake rattling. Just these things, they may be a quarter of a mile from it, and they'll scream back like a response, that loud noise. I've heard all kind of things set them off.
Wow. It's crazy. Roger, would you agree it's just probably a certain frequency that it was just pissing it off?
That'd be something for Reinhardt to study to see what. Are you the motorcycle guy? What frequency would that be? It's just like we said before. That's their territory. Greg hunts their territory. They've kind of made peace since then, but that was a new introduction of something that it may not have understood. So. But yeah, I know this story messes with Greg when he tells it. And being in some of those places, he showed me like that's where the one jumped up and that's where this happened. And y'all, if you're on the town square and see something like that, that's different than being out there by yourself with no help. It's a totally different situation. There's no quick getaway anywhere out there. So
I have to be very careful on when and how I tell that story. And I still didn't go into great big deep detail, even though, I go in a lot more detail than most people. But if I really let myself slip off into really reliving it, I've done that and have nightmares every night for 2 weeks. It messed me up just dealing with it.
Was it just like breaking wood and throwing stuff and stomping the ground?
Doug, that thing was, when I say breaking limbs, I've operated a lot of heavy equipment, and I've got my own bulldozer. And like with me taking my dozer and pushing down trees and pushing them up in big brush piles, these things they'll break trees. It sounds like I'm breaking them with a bulldozer. Yeah. You'll hear them start snapping, you hear the pow, and we're talking about breaking, hardwoods, put around his paint can. It'll snap them like nothing.
Yeah.
And
I've heard that close by. It's quite scary to hear the wood snapping and breaking, and then them pushing again, and it's more cracking, and then the tree will come down. It's nuts.
What's really dramatic too is when you're in a field hunting in one of your blinds. I've got box blinds or shooting houses, we call them. When you have three of these things come around and basically like one here, and one here, they're in a half circle around you, and they got you kind of almost hemmed in, and they're belligerent. Then you have to figure out what you're going to do to get back to your truck that's about 600 yards away. And they're not happy. They're growling and huffing and grunting and breaking limbs that sound like they're this big around. And they're absolutely belligerent. I mean belligerent. And they're letting you know that they're not happy you're there. And you figure out real quick. It's like I said, there's one here, there's one there, and there's one here, like a half circle around you. That's a bad day. That's a horrible day.
And he's not the only one experiencing this in that area. We were, Greg and I and Peyton, my son, went to eat a few weeks ago, and I don't think we had any Bigfoot stuff on or anything. We're talking, and my son is listening to a conversation with three young guys in their mid-20s, and he was telling a story about his buddy walking in a trail with a headlamp on deer season just a few days before, and he saw something black on the side of the trail, and it stood up. And he turned around and ran, and they were talking like, well, they laughed at him a little bit, and he said, well, he's scared to go hunting again. If you're used to the woods, you can be scared by a covey of quail. You walk up on a covey of quail, it'll just absolutely scare you to death, but there's no danger there. But when you see these things, it people always talk about paradigm shifting moment and all that. That doesn't do it justice. The feeling that you get when you see something like this. And I've been lucky enough, the ones I've seen were either far enough away and naively I thought I was safe back in the day, or I've been in a vehicle. But the thing is, I always go back, if they want you, they can get you, so I feel like they don't want confrontation, but it's just like, if somebody comes in your home unwelcome, that's what's going on. And they try their best to run you off. We had a rock thrown at us in 2020, and that brought back all these memories of what had happened when I was younger. And that's what started this again. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of not knowing. I want to figure out what's going on. And that's why I started a little show. And met Greg's like a brother, and all the WoodWalkerz are, and a lot of people in chat here. We've been around each other, we camped together, we've ate together, and we share a common thing that pulled us together. But because of that, it's a tight-knit group. We don't have anybody in the group that's going to tell you a lie. We don't have anybody. The way we handle it is, this is what we've got, this is what we saw, this is what we collected. And what do you think it is? I had a bag of apples go missing last week, a 10-pound bag of apples. Something picked it up and walked off with it. Don't know what it was, but it's in a spot where it's not as bad as what Greg just explained. But to us, it was, because it was one throwing a fit, mumbling, talking, and going in a circle. A smaller one, we caught on audio in the distance, screamed 4 times. And then Peyton saw something behind us he couldn't explain. And we set our guns down, and I said, clear your mind. And I spoke out loud, we're not here to hurt you. We're just curious, and we don't want to be hurt either. We had one more tree break, loud. It was live, snap. and the woods just went quiet. And I asked, I felt it. I said, Peyton, what are you feeling? He said, when you said that, the feel of the woods changed. And I didn't lead him into that answer. I just asked, what are you feeling right now? So we had been going in, and we found some evidence. We heard some things, and we started going 3 days a week, family place, and we had access anytime, day or night. And I just feel like we wore out our welcome, and we started going less. And when I show up now, I speak out loud. Hey, we're going to be here for a while. Leave us alone, or come on out if you want to. But I never thought I'd be doing that. But, you know, that's their home. No matter who owns the land, it's their home. So,
yeah. Were you in between the motorcycle and the Bigfoot? Okay.
No, the Bigfoot was, like I said, I was here. Say if I'm here and the motorcycle was that way, from me it was 120 foot to where the Bigfoot was. The Bigfoot was between me and the motorcycle. But when he left going toward the motorcycle. And thank the Lord, because if he had turned and if that thing went 20 feet, opposite 180 degrees from the way it left, if it went 20 feet, I'd have been looking at it less than 100 feet away. And it would have been it'd been right there in my lap. And like I said, that was what was so crazy for me, was that's what the fear was, that thing was going to turn and step out, and it was going to see me. Because these things, like I said, and I don't know why you don't hear people talk about it, because, for me, I'm one of the few people that ever brought it up that I've ever heard about them working themselves up into a frenzy, because I've had them do it a bunch of times. I mean, a bunch of times. And they will absolutely just it's like stoking a fire, or like bellows blowing on it, heating it up. And it's like they're building up the courage to really take care of business. And they're going, I'm the biggest, baddest thing here. You're not going to mess with me, and blah, 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 blah. And they just keep working themselves up. Doug, I've had them bluff charge me, and the thing was beating its chest like a gorilla. I mean, it sounded like a bass drum going, blah, 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 blah. And stomping, it'll stomp the ground. And you've not been close to one until you have one run up close to you, and you feel the ground shake every time its foot hits the ground, or it's stomping the ground, and you can feel it. That's when life, you're making you're questioning your judgment of being where you're at that point in your life. Because this thing is stomping the ground, and it's so big that you're 40, 50 feet away. And when it's stomping the ground, you can feel it. It's making it's vibrating through a set of Rocky boots or a set of muck boots. You're feeling it. And it's hard to explain that to somebody. And I tell people, look, have you ever been in a pasture where there's horses or cows, and for some reason a horse runs really close to you, and you can feel that horse's hoofs hit the ground? A booger can charge you and run up within 40, 50 feet, and you can feel it. You'll feel the ground shaking.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Look, until you've witnessed it, it's hard to imagine what it's like. And honestly, I've had numerous times when I really questioned I'm probably going to be another chapter in the Missing 411 David Pilates books, because I thought, well, I'm not going to make it. And I've had times when I would come out of the woods, I would make it home. I was in a panic, and it's like, oh my God, I made it. I don't know how. By the grace of the good Lord, I'm still here. I didn't want to talk to nobody about it. I didn't want to tell nobody about it, because I was ashamed, because it scared me so bad. I mean, I was terrified. I may go 2 or 3 days. I may go 2 weeks. I may go a month. I couldn't make myself go back in the woods.
Have you ever messed with your car, your truck, or whatever you drive?
Not really, as far as damaging it or anything. I have had them leave stuff on my hood. I've had them leave rocks that I didn't realize what it was, that it was them gifting me things. And I just chunked it over in the woods, and I didn't realize what was going on. So, yeah, I have had that. But as far as tearing up anything, no, not really. Now, they'll mess with it. I've heard them So, out here I've heard stuff that sounded like it was rummaging around on the back of my truck. I've had them steal stuff off the porch.
What is the fish fry story? People keep
Okay.
it's been brought up like 20 times.
All right. Look, I've got and it's on my porch right now. I've got a 10-gallon cast iron Cajun cooker, big kettle, big pot with a big burner about that big under it. And I'd have cookouts here. I cook for a lot of people. They cook a lot. We had a fish fry. We had, it's probably 12, 14 people come over. It was on a Saturday night. We had fried, gosh, it was, I don't know, like 30 something catfish fillets. We fried a bunch of shrimp. We had crab cakes. We had stuffed crabs. We had all kind of seafood. We cooked French fries, had big buckets coleslaw. We had the spread, hush puppies. We had it laid out like a seafood feast. Well, that kettle of mine, I'll put it's a 10-gallon pot. I put like 7 or so gallons of oil in it, and it leaves it about 6, 7 inches from the top. So you got plenty of room. You got the more oil you got, it holds the temperature. So instead of being able to drop 7 or 8 pieces of fish, the fillets, and it cooling your oil down, when you got that much oil and that much cast iron, you can drop 25 fillets in it and it'll cook it really quick. We cooked everything in that big kettle in the 12-foot picnic table I was telling you about earlier. On the ground where my kettle was, it's got 3 legs, and this thing is about, it's a little over, it likes about 8 inches being as high as a normal table. Ever how many inches that is? Probably, say, 28 inches to the top. Well, I've got it, and I got a big round aluminum lid. And that lid's heavy because it's like 1/4-inch aluminum with a big wooden handle. And this thing's, this big around, it's like 20-something inches across. And anyway, we had fried all this food, and when I cut the burner off and we got all these trays of seafood, everybody's eating, they wipe it out, and everybody eats, and then we play cards and talk and sit around the campfire. Well, everybody goes back, eats 2 or 3 more plates. Well, we divvy the food up and everybody leaves. Well, I got this oil, and this oil, 4 or 5 hours later is still pretty dang hot. Well, we would always filter our oil, and we would strain it and save it and reuse it. Well, this oil's still really hot, and I'm like, it's too hot to put up. I don't want to mess with it. It's late. I'll leave it, and tomorrow I'll come out here and dispose of it or, save it. Well, the next day I didn't mess with it. Well, then on Monday, I'm like, oh, crap, I've got to go over there. I got to do something with that cooking oil. When we left, I had put that lid on top of that big pot. It's sitting out there with a big lid on it. I pull up, I walk around. I got a walkway that comes around the end of the cabin, goes up on the porch. I walk up there, and the first thing I see in the middle of this porch where this big pot's sitting, the aluminum lid that weighs a couple of pounds. That lid has been picked up and moved about 7 feet, and it's set down flat right in the very exact center of that picnic table. The handle's pointing up. It's just like somebody with a hand picked it up and moved it and set it down. All right. The level of cooking oil, which should have been probably 6 or 8 inches from the top of this big, massive pot, big cauldron. The oil's not up there anymore. The oil has went down into the tapered part of this pot. And the best that I could calculate, there was probably 3 to 3.5 gallons of this cooking oil is missing. There's no cooking oil spilt on the porch. There's nothing like dogs had lapped it up, because first off, a dog couldn't have bit this handle and moved the lid 7 feet and set it in the middle of the table.
Greg, I hope this story's not going where I think it's going.
Well, I'm sitting here going, what in the world? I don't know if the things took their hands and dipped the oil and drank it. I don't know if they stuck their big old head in this pot and was sucking it out with their lips. But there was, if it had been coons or possums or or animals, or, small animals, normal animals, there should have been oil everywhere. A coon would have barely done a half gainer off in his cooking oil because it had all this smell of all this seafood in that oil. But dude, that oil level had been dropped like probably 7 or 8 inches in this pot. Well, I'm like, well, I don't know how they got it up, but look, I'm not saving this cooking oil. I took that cooking oil, carried it out in the yard and poured it out and then cleaned the pot up and all that. But we laughed about it because, like Coonbo, he said, don't you know, whichever one of them drank all that cooking oil, he's going to paint the side of some of these trees when he goes to the
Yeah.
So he's probably going to be scared a little bit. So, but yeah, that was just, I don't know what to make of it other than that thing come up there. It smelled that cooking oil. It sat there and had to have drank it. Because
it must have.
What in the world? But see, we had my wife had took some cardboard, and we took this cardboard and put down under my cooker, and what we had cooked was splashed over when we was dipping the stuff up. Well, she had already took all that stuff up off the porch and put it in garbage bags. We'd hauled it off. Well, I knew that when I come back, I was either going to have to take this oil, move it off the porch, pour it up, or I was going to have to put more cardboard down. But it was just the wood, the lumber, and all this dang oil had been gotten, and there was none spilled. There was not a drop of oil nowhere on nothing on that porch.
And everybody that's tasted Greg's cooking can believe this story because it will draw you in. he cooked massive amounts of food. I can't talk, but and that's another thing. You don't know actually what did it, but like Billy Schilling, he's in chat. One of my favorite thing he said, I don't know what did it, but I know what didn't do it. I could roll out like a ton of things,
Yeah.
Oh man.
But that's earlier I noticed Patrick Noble had said something, and then Flat Rock had said something. See, we was doing a video chat just a few nights ago. I was in my kitchen in here about 10:30, 11 o'clock. I had my phone sitting there, and I was cutting up some stuff cooking, and there was one that slapped my porch right here. They was like Jeff Yarrington, Patrick Noble, Flat Rock. They were there. Wendell Bosley. They got to hear the thing hit my porch. And then another night, we had my buddy River Morris, which is in Australia. Him and a few more. I was sitting here in my chair, and they'll hit sometimes periodically. They'll hit my propane tank. I've got a 500-gallon propane tank. They'll hit that propane tank and it'll ring like a church bell. But they sit here, and we was doing a live chat, and
we were on last night. It was just 4 of us. It was Patrick and Flat Rock and you and me, and we heard a booger scream, and Flat Rock thought I was playing my audio. I'm like, I'm in the living room. Who? What? And Greg, he didn't hear it, and the only place it could have come from, Flat Rock was sitting outside, and he was going to check his audio, but. That was the weirdest thing ever because none of us are, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, we could hear. I could hear it coming over. I was using my phone. I heard the sound coming over my phone.
I did,
and I still believe it was at Flat Rocks because Patrick Noble was in his living room. He's like, and I know one here, but Flat Rock was sitting outside, and it was that the scream that goes, whoa.
That long howl, yep.
Yeah.
And we were like, I'm like, who's watching, TV? What was that? And Flat Rock said, I thought it was you playing your howl. And I'm like, no, because it did sound like the one that we caught, in South Alabama. But
yeah. There's one of my BFFs right there now. Y'all, look, if you don't know Coonbo Baker, you need to be knowing him.
Google his name.
Man, I'm telling you, if it hadn't been for him, I owe him so much for leading me down this road of knowledge as far as, I'm a slow learner sometimes, I guess, but, just having him like an older brother, I think he took me in because he felt sorry for me, to tell you the truth. But yeah, y'all just having him on speed dial to talk to me about what I've went through and this and that. And it was absolutely nothing but the grace of the Lord that got me in touch with him. And just unreal. I mean, well, that's with this whole group. I mean, Doug, we could do 3 more episodes on me telling you how these are some of the most wonderful people that I've ever met in my life.
Yeah,
And
there's some amazing people. I have not met Coonbo yet for some reason.
Oh man,
really?
I don't know why.
Hey,
hopefully I can. Hopefully we can get them on.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Adam
have
and
you- have
Chris,
you
Adam and
ever-
Chris got to.
Have you
Yeah.
ever guys gone out somewhere like Roger and Greg? Have you like gone to the LBL or gone anywhere?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've.
I've been-
And
Well, you know, I told you, Doug. I told you the story privately about.
yeah.
Greg was set up with his cooking equipment and across the corner, and we had gone to bed. We had a cabin just in case it got too cold, but we also had a big tent and whatever. And I'm sitting there, Gary Spikes, moderator here. He was down the line a little bit, and Wendell was right down the line. Billy Schilling was next to us, and it was maybe 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. We went to bed and we heard something crashing through the woods. It was huge. And we could hear people at the fire 30 or 40 yards away. Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? Well, in a tent, it's magnified. This thing is coming right at us. And the mattress is 24 inches. I'm up on my elbow, and my dog, Honey, I thank God she's so calm. She growled just a little bit, just real low, and I touched her to let her know that I hear it. Well, she quietened down, thank goodness. And whatever this was 3 feet from my head, stepping, sounded like 2 steps, huge. But I could hear a congested breathing like I've never heard. I've never heard an animal sound like it was struggling
Well,
in
can
and
you-
out.
Can you imitate that, Roger?
No, I could, but I'm not going to. But it's just
Like it's
now I'm choked up.
Like emphysema kind of.
Yes. And I was scared to death, but I put, how guys do. I put myself on the wood side. You can let Heather sleep over here. She heard it and I wasn't saying anything. I'm like, what is this? Is it coming this way? And I'm hearing everybody around like, what is that? I heard them. They were getting the thermals out, but the thing was right behind our tent and no more than 3 feet from my face. And it actually bumped into Naomi Finn's car. She was right on the other side. That trail ran behind us. It bumped into her car. She thought it was one of us having to relieve ourselves. And she laughed later. She said, I almost turned the light on and I wished I had them now. But Wendell and Bob and Billy, at least, and Gary, maybe the next day found a big track in the dry creek bed, gravel. Don't know what it was, but it was large, they said. So, but this thing didn't care. Whatever it was, did not care. There was 120 people there, Greg, probably, maybe 100 camping.
Yeah.
And it came right to our tent, walked right behind it and went off. And I saw, you know the story, Doug. We left one night because it did get too cold. And we went back to the cabin and I turned right out of the campground, headed south. And just around the curve, I noticed something white to the left up on a little knob. And it was the prettiest, biggest white wolf I've never seen a wild wolf. This thing was snow white and it had its ears perked up and head raised up like it was locked on to something. It was after something or hunting something. And when our lights hit it, it turned and crouched and the eyes lit up red. And you know how a squirrel shimmies, like, do I go this way? Do I go that way? When it did that, it blurred together. It was a scary sight, but it turned around and ran back the way it came. And I whipped into the dirt road. It wasn't dirt right there where we were at. It was still asphalt. I stopped and my wife, she doesn't say ugly words. She said, "Oh heavens," that's her cussing. And I'm like, what is it? I didn't see the wolf. I'm looking for the wolf. I knew he probably going to cross that road at the angle it was running. And she said, I just saw a shadow. It looked like a vapor cross the road. and there was no dust. I mean, I hadn't got into the gravel yet, you know, and I'm like, what are you talking about? She said it was about the size of a large dog, but it looked like a shadow or vapor, and it moved. We went back the next day, and the tree that I picked out where it went behind it, I could see the leaves, you know. And I'm not saying it was anything other than a wolf, but that was amazing. That, I mean, just to see that animal, and like you said, Doug, they're not supposed to have wolves there, but Greg saw one. Greg saw a gray one.
Yeah, I saw a big wolf. I mean, I saw a wolf at the LBL that, I mean, it wasn't a dog, man. This was actual, like a gray wolf. And it was me and my buddy Allen, and then Troy Allen I talked about earlier. We were in my truck, and that thing ran across the road in front of us within 25 yards. And that thing looked like it was big enough to eat a grown German Shepherd. I mean, this thing was massive.
It's unreal. Long legs.
But like, I guess maybe
and the wolves down south are not supposed to be big. They're supposed to be much smaller down south.
Yeah, well, that one was huge.
They have plenty of food. They have hogs and turkeys and, you know, all kind of food there. So I did see that big black thing that I couldn't identify, which actually shook me up. I called Spencer, Greg's buddy, my buddy lives in Virginia, and I'm like, man, I just saw something. I don't know what it was. And what got me, and I'm pretty good at identifying body parts, you know, and I didn't see an elbow, I didn't see an ear, I didn't see a tail, I didn't see anything, and it looked like it was bent over digging. And I know what a 700 pound hog looks like, and this thing possibly could have been on the higher end, and could have been a bear, possibly could have been a bear, but I didn't see a tail, and I had a good look. I just saw cheeks, and I got back to the cabin and started Googling bear butt, and some stuff popped up I didn't want to see, but you have to be careful with your search words. But it shook me up. A bear wouldn't have shook me up. I've seen bear. I keep going back to that, and Wendell's making fun of me, but I did when I called Spencer. I done seen the wolf. We done had that thing walk behind the tent, and then thing I couldn't identify. That's what got me. And maybe it was adrenaline dump or whatever. I started like sobbing. Like, jeez, I don't know why it affected me like that. So anyway. Yeah. And we've heard screams, and I found over 30 Bigfoot tracks in a spot that Patrick Noble was in chat. 3 years earlier, they had found this trackway and preserved it. They casted all the tracks. They had a lot of people there, former law enforcement, and they made everybody get back, and they went and they got several casts, but it was the same family, the one I found. And when I posted that on my Facebook, people started like, "Oh, have you heard about the Noble Reed Trackway?" I'm like, "No, y'all need to go look at that." Sawdust Beast. They did a little short 30-minute show on it. Did a great job, but that was the first Bigfoot tracks I'd ever found. And you know how some people, like, you'll look at something, you're like, is that a Bigfoot track? Well, these, the size and the shape and everything, and the toes are big as marshmallows and sunk up 2.5 feet, 2.5 inches in the mud. And that's where Adam camped by himself. And I told him, I'm like,
it's like, Adam, what are you thinking?
What are you doing?
What are you thinking there, sir?
Same spot. He was in the same spot.
That guy's got more guts than anybody I know.
I like
Man, yeah, I was lucky enough for Chris Reinhardt and Adam to come by and hang out with me one evening. Then they went on down to Flat Rocks. But yeah, I told them if they'd get themselves back down here, I'd try to maybe see if they could have a sure enough encounter. But man, I've been really blessed. I'm one of the guys that's, I've got Coonbo as one of my very best friends, and I've got a massive amount of Coonbo stories, going out boogering with him. I mean, when you got somebody like Coonbo to go booger with, it's like, I've seen a lot of things, and a lot of things that a lot of people would just can't imagine going and experiencing. And Coonbo's kind of made sure enough, even a bigger name for himself with, I call it tooting on his horn. I don't care nothing about doing that. We pretty much like a group effort going, please don't bring that damn thing, because I don't know if it's going to go bad. Because I'm telling you for a fact that I've stood there within arm's reach of him and him blow that thing and hit that right note and call them in, and they will come. But you got to have the right horn. It's got to be some certain things to be done. And it's amazing what it took to put it all together. You can't just go buy one of them and go out through the woods and toot on it and go, well, I'm going to call them up. No, there's a lot that goes into it that has to be done. But I stood there right by him and witnessed it. And I'll just tell you, when you got somebody like Tim and you're sitting there and he's called one in and you hear this thing coming from a mile or 3/4 of a mile away, and it's getting close and it's doing it fast, and that thing's not happy, and you're hearing it tear the world up as it's coming to you. When that thing gets less than 1/4 of a mile, probably 1/8 of a mile, and it's screaming and having a fit, and you're hearing limbs and trees and stuff snap. When Tim looks around and goes, boys, we better go. There's nobody going to sit there and go, no, man, well, no, we're here to, let's just wait on it. No. When you're here there and you hear when you're there and you hear what we was hearing, you'd have to be an absolute fool to keep staying there. I mean,
y'all, let me specify. Nobody's walking 8 miles into the woods in the dark where these boogery places are. All you have to do is pull up in a couple vehicles, get quiet.
Roger, is that a new term?
What did I say? Boogery, yeah.
Boogery places.
If you want to see boogery, you go have eat a pimento cheese sandwich of Greg.
It is man. Okay, but all right, but if there's more than one, is it booger eye? Or is it a booger pod? Is it a booger pod? Or boogeresses?
Boogers covers it all.
Just boogers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boogers and boogery. Yeah, we've had people laugh at us on the show, but I heard that term when I was younger, but I thought they were talking about the boogeyman.
Yeah.
Don't be out there too late. The boogers will get you.
About that. I think that's where those legends came from.
Yeah,
sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So Roger, your show's on what day? Do you want to tell everybody on the Untold Radio Network?
Thursday nights at 7 Central. We appreciate all the support we've got, and it's been a wild ride. I started this to learn more, and I did not know where it was headed. But if the friendship and the people that have come into our lives has been worth the whole thing. So, Jeff has said it before. These people in chat, we get to know the people, and they're just we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's
and then Greg.
That's like me.
I was good. You're on a podcast too, aren't you?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I've been on. Spencer Jameson started up and got Misty Haynes to go in, and then they got me to come on probably the 5th or 6th episode, and then they were like, "Well, why don't you just make this? We'll just have a 3-person podcast." So yeah, I'm like one of the wheels on the tricycle. We pedal around and go round and round, and then Missy and I, we started doing kind of an after-hour show that we tell people, we go a little out there sometimes. Now, we take the subject serious. We just don't take ourselves serious. We enjoy laughing and cutting up. And, it's just us being us. And what you see is what you get, because I don't want to be something that people's going to meet me in person and go, well, man, he don't act the same as he does on a show. No, y'all, what you see is what you get. Now, look, I've toned it down because, I've got my vocabulary of 4-letter words is rather extravagant. So, my bywords are really, really harsh. So,
and multiple syllables when they're not supposed to be.
Yes, multiple syllables. But yeah, we do the wood, WOOD, and then WALKERZ, WoodWalkerz with a Z. Okay. We do it. We've got a pretty good Facebook page. A lot of good posts on it. And I think we're slowly approaching 900 members. Now it's a private page. You can go on there and look us up, request to join. But the thing about it, we try to tell everybody, so we try to make sure that you're not a bot, you're not a troll.
Right.
You've got 3 questions. Look, answer the questions. You don't have to write a whole synopsis on why you're wanting in. You don't have to write a paragraph. Just short, simple questions where we know you're a real person.
And if
they know the password, they can just get in, and that's loud. The password to get in his website is Loud Motorcycle.
Yeah, that's right. And let me give y'all some advice. If on all 3 questions you put Team Spencer, Team Spencer, Team Spencer, you're automatically in.
Oh my God. Yes.
Cooking oil would work.
There you go.
Yes. But now, and then see, Misty and I, we started one for like I said, it's called Night Owls, OWLZ, Night Owls 1313, because we didn't realize there were so many people that had Night Owls for a podcast. So ours is Night Owls with a Z.
All right, I'm putting
1313.
There we go.
There we go. So, and look, y'all, we may or may not. We kind of kicked it around earlier. We talked with Kumbo after he come on the show with us today. We do the WoodWalkerz every Sunday, or most Sundays at 1:30 Central, 1:30 p.m. Central. And Night Owls, we love to do it random, and usually it's later at night. We may kick off 10:30, 11 o'clock Central. We may go 3 hours. So, but y'all check us out. Hit the like button. You can subscribe for free. We're just trying to get people that like to have fun and hear some good stories. And I promise you, some of my true life adventures are pretty humorous. I dare them to go ahead and go back and research and find the Ears for Beer story.
Well, what I want to know, how do we know it wasn't you that drank that cooking oil?
Oh man. Look, I would still, because my intestines would be out intestines.
Oh man.
Man.
I'm not going to get that out of my head.
Oh,
jeez. Could you imagine how sick you would get?
Oh, it would be horrible.
Oh, it would be horrid.
Yeah, that was peanut oil. That was peanut oil.
Oh, doesn't matter if it was oil. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing will make you sicker. Okay. Anyhow, we got to wrap it up. We're on a 3.5 hour tour.
This might be a record, yeah.
Doug,
well, that's all right.
Doug, Greg and I and Kumbo and another fellow one night were talking and going over things, and I looked up and then we're 6.5 hours in.
I can believe it.
Oh my God. It took me 2 days to recover.
Roger, we had 6-hour calls.
Oh yeah, I know, right? Yep, absolutely. But they don't seem that long, so
no.
I learn a lot.
We had people was like messaging going, y'all, I went and took a nap and y'all still on here. I went and cooked supper and went to town, went grocery shopping, got home, y'all still on here.
One person was like, I live like 7 hours from LBL. I'm going to see y'all, but I'm going to listen to that show all the way down. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. This
has been great.
Just having the people to talk to. I'll call Greg up and we'll fuss about the current events, and then we'll always ends up we talk about something that happened to us. So it's good. And I didn't expect it, and I say this all the time, but when I realized into this about a year into that we're actually helping folks, it made it even better. And Greg has people call him all the time from all over the world to just chit chat and ask questions. But anyway,
it's been actually humbling at the people that's contacted me and thanked me for talking to people. And it's just overwhelming.
I think it's therapy for the people listening. It's therapy for us.
Yeah.
It just works. It just works.
Yeah.
It's good to talk about stuff that we all have in common. We've all experienced. All of us want answers. None of us really know anything.
That's right.
You know, we don't. We kind of do, but we kind of don't. We know they don't like motorcycles.
Yeah,
definitely. Do not like motorcycles.
We know stuff
Noted.
like that.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, there's several of us that under the opinion that there's also certain colors that you really don't need to wear in the woods. Also,
Yeah, I've heard that. Like
yellow and red.
Yellow and red. Yeah, I've heard that. It's
Yeah.
apparently some people have gone missing. We're wearing such colors. I don't think you'd want to wear blue either.
No, probably not.
So anyhow, well, thank you so much, Greg. It was so awesome meeting you and
Yes.
hearing of all your encounters. And Roger, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having
People
me.
were commenting they had never seen Roger so quiet.
I know who the star of this show is. I hang around him all the time. So
Oh man, I appreciate y'all having me on. I really do.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
And wait, look,
Roger, please give Greg my number and contact info, and we're gonna definitely get you guys back on. Maybe we can talk Coonbo into coming in.
Yeah.
Coming on, that would be awesome. So.
Yeah.
Then I definitely couldn't say nothing between them two.
You have to pre-plan an intermission.
Yeah, bathroom break, right?
And I promise I will take this mic off tonight.
What was that? What was that? No, I'm kidding.
Throw it in the shut up. Throw it in the garbage bin. It's a brand new. It's the same mic I had. I loved it, and this one is just crap.
Yeah.
So
Not cutting it.
it's not doing it.
Oh, well.
Something's wrong. Anyhow, so I'll have a brand new, really cool mic next time. Sorry about that. I appreciate it. And thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. We're gonna do our wisdom real quick.
Oh, yeah. Hang tight, everybody. We'll be right
Just hang
back.
tight.
It's now time for Untold Radio AM Wisdom of the Week. There are seldom truly original ideas, only original combinations. Every thought we have is built on something we've seen, heard, lived, or learned before. What makes it powerful isn't that it's brand new, it's that it's yours. Don't wait to be completely original. Take what's been done, filter it through your experience, your scars, your vision, and build something only you could build. That's where real innovation lives. Good night. We hope to see you all next week. If you like the show tonight, please consider giving us a thumbs up, leaving a nice comment, and most of all, subscribing and hitting the bell so you will be notified when a new episode is dropping. Also, please share this episode. Now back to Doug and Jeff for our wrap.
And we are back. Thank you again. We love everybody who's in chat. And
Thanks for hanging out with us this
who
long.
wasn't in chat. No, we really love y'all, and we will be back next week.
Yep.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night, y'all.
Big love, everybody.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should stop falling, we'll head home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Oh, ain't no ordinary love we got going on. At the end of the world, together forever as one, and I'll wait. If ever you should be in doubt, and I'll pray they never can pull us apart, and I'll wait for the time when we'll be together every day. But I know if ever we'll be led astray, that I'll find my way back home to you again. whenever you should be in doubt, and I pray they never can pull us apart.